If you have made it to part 4 of this series, you are not a casual cat owner looking for quick tips. You are someone who understands that cat care is not a checklist of basics you complete once and never revisit. You are someone who has worked through 48 comparisons already, who has questioned assumptions, who has changed approaches based on evidence, and who is ready to go deeper into the decisions that separate competent cat ownership from genuinely exceptional care. This is part 4. The decisions we are covering here are not foundational, the way indoor versus outdoor or wet versus dry. We're in part 1. They are not universal the way prescription diets or litter box design were in parts 2 and 3. These are specialized decisions that apply to specific cats in specific situations. Long-haired cats who need grooming management, multi-cat households managing feeding dynamics, senior cats with mobility limitations, households adopting new cats or kittens, cats with chronic pain requiring ongoing medication decisions. If these situations do not apply to your cat right now, some of them will apply eventually. Cats age, households change, new cats arrive, health conditions develop. The decisions you learn about in this video are not hypothetical preparation for situations you will never face. They are real scenarios that most cat owners encounter at some point, and the difference between handling them well and handling them poorly often comes down to whether you understood the options and the evidence before the situation arose. We are also going into decisions that have become possible relatively recently as cat care practices have evolved and as new products and approaches have entered the market. The choice between ramps and steps for senior cats with mobility issues reflects growing recognition that arthritis and jumping difficulty are common and treatable in aging cats. The choice between window perches and cat TV for visual stimulation reflects expanding understanding of environmental enrichment needs. The choice between ongoing and as-needed pain medication for senior cats reflects changing veterinary attitudes toward feline pain management that prioritize quality of life over outdated concerns about medication risks. The format remains the same: full examination of both sides of each comparison, honest assessment of the evidence, clear verdicts that give you the information you need to make decisions appropriate for your specific cat, rather than blanket recommendations that ignore individual variation, and the same commitment to explaining not just what the evidence shows, but why it matters and how to apply it in real households with real constraints. Some of the decisions in this video will feel immediately relevant. If you have a long-haired cat who mats despite your brushing efforts, the grooming comparison will speak directly to your current situation. If you are about to introduce a new cat to your household, the introduction speed comparison will affect decisions you are making this week. If you have a senior cat who is slowing down and struggling with jumps, the ramp versus steps comparison addresses a problem you are watching develop in real time. Other decisions will feel like future preparation. If you have a young, healthy cat with no mobility issues, the pain medication comparison may seem irrelevant now, but that cat will age. That cat may develop arthritis or other painful conditions. Understanding the pain management options before you need them means you can advocate effectively for your cat when the time comes, rather than accepting inadequate pain control because you did not know better options existed. This is the investment you are making by being here, not just solving today's problems, but preparing for tomorrow's challenges, not just reacting to issues as they arise, but understanding the landscape of possibilities so you can make proactive choices that prevent problems before they develop or that minimize their impact when prevention is not possible. 48 comparisons down, 10 more ahead. If you are still here, still learning, still questioning, still wanting to do better, your cat has exactly the owner they need. Let's continue. Comparison 1. Dry brushing versus professional grooming for long-hair cats. Long-haired cats are beautiful, and that beauty comes with maintenance requirements that short-haired cat owners never face. The luxurious coat that makes Persians, Maine Coons, Ragdolls, and other long-haired breeds so visually striking is also a coat that mats, tangles, accumulates debris, and requires regular intervention to remain healthy and comfortable. The question is not whether long-haired cats need grooming. They absolutely do. The question is whether regular home brushing is adequate or whether professional grooming is necessary, and the answer depends on coat type, cat temperament, owner skill and consistency, and how quickly problems develop despite home care efforts. This comparison examines what home brushing can realistically accomplish, what limitations it has, when professional grooming becomes necessary rather than optional, what professional grooming actually involves, and how to make informed decisions about grooming management for your specific long-haired cat, rather than assuming that one approach fits all situations. Let's start with what happens when long-haired cats are not groomed adequately, because understanding the consequences clarifies why this is not a cosmetic decision, but a welfare decision. Mats are the primary problem that inadequate grooming creates. Mats are clumps of tangled fur that form when loose undercoat hair becomes entangled with outer coat hair and tightens into dense masses that cannot be brushed out. Mats start small, often in areas of high friction like behind the ears, under the armpits, in the groin area, and along the belly where the cat's movement causes hair to rub together. Small mats that are caught early can sometimes be worked out with careful combing, or can be carefully cut out without significant coat damage. Mats that are ignored grow larger, pull more surrounding hair into the tangle, and eventually become impenetrable masses that are matted all the way down to the skin. The welfare concern with mats is not aesthetic. It is physical discomfort and skin health. Mats pull on the skin constantly as the cat moves, creating a sensation similar to having your hair pulled tight continuously. Severe mats restrict movement and prevent normal grooming, creating hygiene problems as the cat cannot clean the affected areas. Mats trap moisture, debris, and fecal matter against the skin, creating conditions for bacterial growth, skin infections, and parasitic infestation. Mats that have been present for extended periods can cause skin tearing when they finally pull free, leaving open wounds that are painful and susceptible to infection. The progression from minor matting to severe matting happens faster than most owners realize, particularly in cats with very dense undercoats or in cats who resist brushing and limit the owner's ability to access certain areas. A cat who appears to have only a few small mats when viewed from above may have extensive matting under the legs, along the belly and in the groin area that is not visible during casual observation. By the time the matting is obvious to the owner, it is often severe enough that home intervention is no longer adequate and professional grooming is necessary to safely remove the mats without injuring the cat. Now let's talk about home brushing and what it can accomplish when done correctly and consistently, because brushing is the foundation of long-haired cat coat maintenance and prevents most matting if implemented properly. The tools matter significantly in home brushing effectiveness. A slicker brush with fine bent wire bristles is the primary tool for removing loose undercoat and preventing mat formation. The slicker brush reaches through the outer coat to the dense undercoat, where mats form and pulls out the loose dead hair before it can tangle. A metal comb with both wide and narrow teeth is used after the slicker brush to verify that the coat has been brushed through to the skin and to detect any small tangles or mats that the brush missed. A mat splitter or mat rake can address small mats that are caught early, breaking them up into smaller sections that can then be combed out. Using the wrong tools, particularly soft bristle brushes or wide-spaced grooming gloves, creates the illusion of grooming without actually addressing the undercoat where matting occurs. These tools smooth the outer coat and make the cat look brushed, but do not remove the loose undercoat that is the source of mat formation. An owner who brushes regularly with inadequate tools may be shocked to discover severe matting beneath a coat that appears well maintained on the surface. The brushing technique matters as much as the tools. Effective brushing works in sections, parting the coat to expose the skin and brushing from the skin outward in the direction of hair growth. Brushing only the surface layer of the coat, which many owners do because it is faster and meets less resistance, leaves the undercoat untouched and allows mats to form invisibly beneath the smooth outer layer. High-risk areas including behind the ears, under the armpits, along the flanks, the belly, and the groin area require specific attention during each brushing session because these are the locations where mats form first and fastest. The frequency required for effective mat prevention varies by individual cat based on coat density, undercoat thickness, and shedding cycle. But for most long-haired cats, daily brushing is necessary during heavy shedding seasons, and every other day is adequate during stable coat periods. Brushing once weekly or less frequently is inadequate for most long-haired cats and allows mat formation between sessions. The cat's tolerance for brushing is the practical limitation that determines whether home brushing can be maintained consistently enough to prevent matting. Some long-haired cats tolerate or even enjoy extended brushing sessions and allow access to all body areas, including sensitive locations like the belly and groin. These cats are ideal candidates for home grooming only management because the owner can perform the thorough brushing required to prevent mats. Other long-haired cats tolerate only brief brushing sessions, resist handling of certain body areas, or become agitated or aggressive when brushing continues beyond their tolerance threshold. These cats present a challenge for home grooming because the areas they resist brushing are often the exact areas where mats form most readily. An owner can brush the cat's back, sides, and tail successfully during brief sessions, but cannot access the armpits, belly, or groin without triggering resistance that makes thorough brushing impossible. This tolerance limitation is where many well-intentioned owners struggle. They are brushing regularly, they are using appropriate tools, but they cannot brush thoroughly enough because the cat's cooperation limits access to high-risk areas. The result is a cat who appears brushed and who has a smooth outer coat, but who is developing hidden mats in the areas the owner cannot reach. These owners often do not realize professional grooming is necessary until the matting is severe, because they are doing what they believe is adequate home care and are not aware that the cat's resistance is preventing effective grooming. Let's talk about professional grooming and what it actually involves, because many cat owners have misconceptions about what professional grooming means and what to expect from the process. Professional cat grooming is performed by trained groomers who specialize in cats, or by veterinary technicians in veterinary practices that offer grooming services. The grooming session typically includes bathing with cat-specific shampoo, blow drying to remove excess water and fluff the coat, thorough brushing and combing to remove loose undercoat, mat removal through careful cutting or shaving when brushing cannot address existing mats, nail trimming, ear cleaning, and sanitary area trimming to keep fecal material from adhering to fur around the anus. For severely matted cats, a full shave down may be necessary. A shave down removes the entire coat using electric clippers, leaving a short, even coat typically between 1/4 and 1/2 inch in length. The shaved coat grows back over several months, and during the regrowth period, the cat requires less intensive grooming because the short coat does not mat. Shave downs are not ideal because they remove the coat that provides temperature regulation and UV protection. But they are sometimes the only safe option for cats whose matting is too severe to remove through brushing and selective cutting without causing pain or skin injury. The sedation question is relevant for professional grooming because some cats who resist home grooming also resist professional grooming to the extent that safe coat maintenance cannot be performed on an awake, uncooperative cat. Sedation or light anesthesia allows the groomer to work safely and thoroughly without causing stress to the cat or injury to the groomer. Sedated grooming is typically performed in veterinary settings where anesthesia can be administered and monitored safely. Some owners resist sedated grooming because they perceive anesthesia as dangerous or because they believe a cat should tolerate grooming without sedation. The reality is that for cats with severe matting, attempting to remove mats on a fully awake, struggling cat is more dangerous than appropriately administered sedation. Mats that are tight against the skin require careful cutting with scissors or clippers positioned between the mat and the skin, and a cat who is moving unpredictably creates serious risk of skin laceration. Sedation allows the groomer to work carefully and completely, removing all mats safely and reducing the likelihood of future matting through thorough removal of underlying tangles. The cost of professional grooming varies by region and by the extent of grooming required, but typical costs for a full grooming session range from $75 to $150, with severely matted cats requiring shave downs or sedation costing more. For owners on limited budgets, this cost is significant, and the frequency required, typically every 6 to 12 weeks for long-haired cats who are mat-prone, makes professional grooming a substantial ongoing expense. The decision between home brushing and professional grooming is not binary. Most long-haired cats benefit from a combination approach where regular home brushing maintains the coat between professional grooming sessions that address areas the owner cannot access or that perform deep coat maintenance that home brushing cannot fully accomplish. The ideal frequency of professional grooming depends on how quickly the cat's coat develops problems despite home brushing. A cat who tolerates thorough home brushing and whose coat responds well to regular maintenance may need professional grooming only once or twice yearly for deep coat work and sanitary trimming. A cat whose coat mats quickly despite frequent home brushing, or who resists home grooming in ways that prevent adequate maintenance, may need professional grooming every 6 to 8 weeks to prevent matting from becoming severe. The early intervention principle applies to grooming as it does to medical care. Small mats that are addressed promptly through extra brushing or through a professional grooming session are easier and less expensive to manage than severe matting that requires sedated shave downs. An owner who schedules professional grooming at the first sign of matting that cannot be resolved through home brushing is preventing a bigger problem and spending less money overall than an owner who delays professional grooming until matting is severe and more extensive intervention is required. Let's address the seasonal shedding factor, because long-haired cats typically have 2 major shedding periods per year, usually in spring and fall, when they shed their winter or summer coat. During these shedding periods, the amount of loose undercoat increases dramatically, and the risk of mat formation is highest. Home brushing during shedding season needs to increase in frequency to daily or multiple times daily to keep up with the volume of loose hair. Professional grooming scheduled at the beginning of shedding season to remove excess undercoat can reduce home brushing burden and mat risk during the high-risk period. The specific breed considerations matter because different long-haired breeds have different coat types with different grooming needs. Persian cats have extremely dense undercoats and facial structure that makes grooming difficult, making them one of the highest maintenance long-haired breeds that typically require both intensive home brushing and regular professional grooming. Maine Coons have water-resistant outer coats with moderate undercoats that are somewhat easier to maintain than Persian coats, but still require regular brushing. Ragdolls have silky coats with less undercoat than Persians, making them moderately easy to groom compared to other long-haired breeds. Mixed-breed long-haired cats have coat types that vary widely, and grooming needs must be assessed individually based on the specific cat's coat density, texture, and mat tendency, rather than assumed based on breed standards. The verdict, regular home brushing with appropriate tools and technique, is the foundation of long-haired cat coat maintenance and prevents most matting when performed thoroughly and consistently. Daily brushing during shedding seasons and every other day brushing during stable coat periods is necessary for most long-haired cats to maintain healthy coat condition. Professional grooming is necessary, not optional, for long-haired cats who develop mats despite home brushing efforts, for cats who resist home grooming in ways that prevent adequate maintenance, and for periodic deep coat work that removes accumulated undercoat and addresses sanitary area trimming that most owners cannot perform safely at home. The combination approach, where regular home brushing is supplemented with professional grooming every 6 to 12 weeks, is the most effective maintenance strategy for most long-haired cats and prevents the progression from minor maintenance issues to severe matting that requires expensive corrective intervention. The investment in professional grooming is justified by the welfare improvement it provides for cats whose coats cannot be maintained adequately through home brushing alone. A long-haired cat with a well-maintained coat is more comfortable, has better skin health, and requires less intensive intervention than a cat whose matting is allowed to progress because the owner assumed home brushing would be adequate or because professional grooming seemed like an unnecessary expense. If you have a long-haired cat, evaluate honestly whether your home brushing efforts are actually preventing matting or whether you are maintaining surface appearance while mats develop underneath. Run a metal comb through the coat in high-risk areas, and if it does not glide smoothly all the way to the skin, you have tangles forming that require more intensive intervention. Schedule professional grooming before the problem becomes severe, and use the groomer's assessment of coat condition to determine whether your home brushing frequency and technique are adequate or whether changes are needed. Comparison 2. Slow introduction versus quick introduction for new cats. Bringing a new cat into a household with an existing cat or cats is one of the most consequential decisions in multi-cat ownership, and the way the introduction is managed in the first days and weeks determines whether the cats will coexist peacefully, tolerate each other with ongoing tension, or develop lasting antagonism that makes the household stressful for everyone involved. The stakes are high, the outcome is not guaranteed, and the difference between success and failure often comes down to whether the owner understood that cat introductions require time, structure, and patience, rather than optimism and hope that the cats will work it out themselves. The advice that most people receive about cat introductions falls into two categories, both of which are inadequate. The first is the quick introduction approach, where the new cat is simply released into the home and expected to integrate naturally through exploration and social interaction with the resident cats. The second is vague guidance to go slow without specific direction about what slow means, how to structure the process, or how to recognize when progression to the next stage is appropriate. This comparison is going to give you the complete picture of why slow structured introductions work, why quick introductions fail, what slow actually looks like in practice, and how to manage the process from day one through successful integration. Let's start with why quick introductions fail, because understanding the failure mechanism explains why the slow approach is necessary rather than optional. Cats are territorial animals whose sense of security is tied to environmental familiarity and predictability. The introduction of a new cat into established territory is inherently threatening to resident cats because it represents an unknown element in their secure environment and a potential competitor for resources, including food, water, litter boxes, resting locations, and owner attention. The new cat is simultaneously experiencing stress from the transition to an unfamiliar environment, separation from their previous home, and the presence of unfamiliar cats whose intentions and social status are unknown. A quick introduction, where cats meet face-to-face on the first day without preparation or gradual acclimation, forces both parties into a high-stress social interaction before either is ready. The resident cat perceives the new cat as an intruder who has violated their territory. The new cat perceives the resident cat as a threat in an already overwhelming environment. The interaction that follows is almost always negative, ranging from hissing and posturing to active fighting, and these initial negative encounters create associations and relationship patterns that persist long after the initial meeting. Cats have excellent long-term memory for negative experiences, particularly experiences involving other cats. A resident cat who has a frightening or aggressive first encounter with a new cat remembers that cat as a threat and approaches all future interactions with defensive or aggressive anticipation. A new cat who is attacked or severely threatened during their first hours in a new home associates the environment itself with danger and may develop lasting anxiety that affects their behavior and welfare for months or years. The quick introduction approach assumes that cats will establish hierarchy and settle into coexistence through brief conflict that resolves naturally. This assumption works for some highly social, confident cats in low-stress circumstances, but it fails for the majority of cat pairings, particularly when the cats differ significantly in age, confidence, or social experience. The cost of failure is a household where cats cannot share space without tension, where resources must be carefully separated to prevent conflict, and where the owner becomes the constant mediator of a relationship that never develops positive foundation. Now let's talk about what slow introduction actually means in practice, because the concept of going slow is meaningless without specific structure and clear progression criteria. A slow introduction is a staged process that progresses through distinct phases, with each phase building on successful completion of the previous phase before advancing. The process typically takes a minimum of 2 to 4 weeks for straightforward introductions and can take months for difficult pairings involving fearful cats, cats with limited social experience, or households where multiple resident cats are involved. Phase 1 is separation and scent exchange. The new cat is confined to a single room, typically a bedroom or bathroom, with all necessary resources including food, water, litter box, scratching post, toys, and comfortable resting areas. The room door remains closed, preventing any visual or physical contact between cats while allowing scent and sound exchange through the door gap. This separation achieves several goals simultaneously. It gives the new cat a manageable territory to acclimate to, rather than overwhelming them with an entire unfamiliar house. It allows the new cat to establish a safe base where they can relax and begin to settle. It gives resident cats time to become aware of the new cat's presence through scent without the stress of direct confrontation. The scent exchange during Phase 1 is active rather than passive. The owner facilitates scent introduction by rubbing a soft cloth on the new cat's cheeks and face where scent glands are concentrated and placing that cloth near the resident cat's feeding areas or favorite resting spots. The same process is repeated with the resident cat's scent being introduced to the new cat's room. Scent exchange allows cats to become familiar with each other's chemical signatures in a non-threatening context before they meet. Feeding on opposite sides of the door is introduced during Phase 1, with food bowls placed as close to the door as the cats will tolerate without showing stress. This creates a positive association between the other cat's scent and the reward of eating, beginning to build the foundation for tolerance. Phase 2 is visual contact without physical access. After the cats are eating calmly near the door and showing relaxed body language when they smell the other cat's scent, visual contact is introduced through a barrier. The most effective barrier is a tall baby gate or a screen door that allows the cats to see each other while preventing physical contact. If a gate or screen is not available, the door can be opened a crack, just wide enough for visual contact without allowing passage. The initial visual contact sessions are brief, lasting only a few minutes, and are always paired with positive experiences like feeding or interactive play. The cats do not need to be friendly or interested in each other during visual contact. The goal is calm tolerance, meaning the cats acknowledge each other's presence without signs of fear, aggression, or high arousal. Body language indicating readiness to progress includes relaxed posture, normal breathing, ears in neutral position, and willingness to eat or play in the other cat's presence. Body language indicating the need to slow down includes dilated pupils, flattened ears, tense body posture, hissing, growling, or refusal to eat. Phase 3 is controlled face-to-face interaction in neutral territory. Once the cats are consistently calm during visual contact sessions, the barrier is removed and the cats are allowed to interact directly, but the interaction is structured and supervised. The first face-to-face meeting occurs in a neutral space that neither cat has claimed as core territory, such as a bathroom or hallway. The meeting is brief, 5 to 10 minutes maximum, and occurs when both cats are calm rather than during high-energy periods. Interactive play before the meeting helps discharge excess energy and arousal that could escalate into conflict. Feeding or treating during and after the meeting reinforces positive association. The owner remains present and attentive, watching for signs of escalation and prepared to interrupt if necessary, but does not intervene in normal social communication, including brief hissing or posturing that resolves quickly. The progression through Phase 3 involves gradually increasing the duration of supervised interactions, expanding the territory where interactions occur, and monitoring for signs that the cats are developing tolerance or beginning to interact positively through play or mutual grooming. Phase 4 is unsupervised coexistence. Only after the cats have demonstrated consistent calm tolerance during supervised interactions are they allowed unsupervised access to each other. This typically begins with short unsupervised periods when the owner is home and able to intervene if necessary, gradually extending to longer periods and eventually to full-time coexistence. The timeline for progression through these phases is determined by the cat's behavior rather than by a predetermined schedule. Some cat pairs progress from Phase 1 to Phase 4 in 2 weeks. Others require months. Rushing progression before the cats are ready increases the risk of negative encounters that set back the process or create lasting relationship problems. The common mistakes in slow introductions include progressing too quickly when initial phases go smoothly, interpreting normal wariness as compatibility problems, failing to provide adequate resources in the separation room, and giving up on the process when progress seems slow. The single most important principle in cat introductions is that slow is fast and fast is slow. Taking the time to progress through each phase thoroughly creates a foundation for successful long-term coexistence. Rushing the process to achieve faster integration creates problems that take months to resolve or that never fully resolve. Let's address the specific scenarios where introduction difficulty is predictable and where extra time and care are necessary from the start. Introducing a kitten to an adult cat is often easier than adult-to-adult introductions because kittens are less threatening and because most adult cats recognize kittens as juveniles who are not competing for territory or resources. However, some adult cats are overwhelmed by kitten energy and become stressed by persistent play attempts. The introduction process for kittens follows the same phases but often progresses faster than adult introductions. Introducing a confident adult cat to a fearful or poorly socialized cat requires significant patience because the fearful cat may hide continuously during early phases and may take weeks to progress to calm visual contact. These introductions benefit from giving the fearful cat extensive time in the separation room to acclimate to the environment before any contact with the resident cat is attempted. Introducing multiple cats simultaneously, such as adopting 2 bonded cats and introducing them to a resident cat, is more complex because each cat pair requires assessment and because the social dynamics between 3 or more cats are more complicated than dyadic relationships. In these cases, the new cats are typically introduced as a unit. But if one new cat integrates successfully while the other struggles, individual management may be necessary. Reintroducing cats who have lived together previously but have been separated can be surprisingly difficult because cats do not maintain social bonds during separation and may not recognize a previously familiar cat after extended time apart. These reintroductions should follow the same slow process as new cat introductions, rather than assuming the cats will immediately resume their previous relationship. The role of environmental resources in introduction success cannot be overstated. Providing multiple feeding stations, multiple litter boxes distributed throughout the home, multiple resting locations at various heights, and multiple hiding spaces prevents resource competition that can trigger conflict even between cats who have otherwise achieved tolerance. The resource distribution should be established before the introduction begins and maintained throughout the process. The verdict: slow structured introductions following a phased progression from separation through scent exchange, visual contact, supervised interaction, and finally unsupervised coexistence are the evidence-based best practice for cat introductions and dramatically increase the probability of successful long-term integration. Quick introductions that skip the preparatory phases and force immediate face-to-face contact create high-risk situations where negative first encounters establish relationship patterns that persist indefinitely and that may never be fully overcome. The time investment in slow introduction, typically 2 to 4 weeks minimum and often longer for difficult pairings, is insignificant relative to the years of peaceful or tense coexistence that result from the process. An introduction that takes 2 months to complete successfully produces a better outcome than an introduction that is rushed through in 3 days and creates lasting antagonism. If you are planning to add a new cat to your household, commit to the slow introduction process before you bring the new cat home. Set up the separation room with all necessary resources. Accept that the cats will not meet on day 1, and that your new cat may spend weeks in a single room before integration begins. Follow the progression criteria honestly, and do not advance phases until the cat's behavior clearly indicates readiness. If you have already attempted a quick introduction and the cats have had negative encounters, the relationship can often be improved through a structured reintroduction that starts over from phase 1 separation. The negative history makes the process more difficult, but with patience and proper management, many cat relationships can be rehabilitated even after poor initial introductions. Your new cat and your resident cats will potentially live together for a decade or more. The few weeks you invest in proper introduction create the foundation for that entire shared lifespan. Do not sacrifice years of peaceful coexistence for the convenience of a fast introduction that fails. Comparison 3. Separate feeding stations versus communal feeding for multi-cat households. The way cats are fed in multi-cat households affects more than just nutrition delivery. It affects social dynamics, stress levels, eating behavior, weight management, and the overall quality of daily life for every cat in the home. The communal feeding approach, where all cats eat from bowls placed in a single location at the same time, seems efficient and straightforward from a human management perspective. It creates a single feeding event that the owner controls. It uses minimal floor space, and it appears to work fine when the cats eat their food without obvious conflict. The problem is that obvious conflict is not the only indicator of feeding-related stress, and the absence of visible fighting does not mean the feeding arrangement is serving all cats equally well. This comparison examines why separate feeding stations matter for multi-cat households, what problems communal feeding creates that most owners never recognize, how to implement separate feeding effectively, and when communal feeding is acceptable versus when it is genuinely compromising cat welfare. Let's start with what happens at communal feeding stations from the cat's perspective, because the social and behavioral dynamics are more complex than the simple act of eating food from bowls suggests. Feeding is a resource-based activity that triggers competitive and territorial instincts even in cats who coexist peacefully during other activities. In the wild, feline feeding is typically a solitary activity where individual cats eat prey they have caught without sharing or competing with other cats. Domestic cats retain this preference for solitary feeding, and when forced to eat in close proximity to other cats, they experience varying levels of stress depending on their individual personality, their relationship with the other cats, and the specific feeding arrangement. The dominant cat in a multi-cat household often controls access to communal feeding locations through subtle intimidation that the owner may never witness. This control does not require overt aggression or fighting. A dominant cat who positions themselves between the feeding area and another cat, who approaches the feeding area while another cat is eating, or who stares at another cat while they eat, creates enough social pressure that the subordinate cat alters their feeding behavior to avoid confrontation. The behavioral changes that result from feeding stress include eating quickly without normal satiation signals, which can lead to vomiting from eating too fast or overeating from anxiety-driven consumption. They include waiting to eat until the dominant cat has finished, which may mean eating food that has been sitting out for hours, or eating at times that do not align with the cat's natural feeding rhythm. The weight management implications are significant and bidirectional. A cat who eats quickly and excessively at communal feedings due to competitive anxiety may become overweight despite being fed appropriate portions, because the anxiety-driven eating overrides normal satiation signals. A cat who eats inadequately at communal feedings due to intimidation may become underweight or fail to maintain appropriate body condition despite having food available, because the feeding environment prevents adequate consumption. The stress accumulation from daily feeding anxiety has health consequences beyond weight. Chronic stress elevates cortisol, which suppresses immune function, increases susceptibility to stress-related illnesses, including feline idiopathic cystitis, and contributes to behavioral problems, including redirected aggression and litter box avoidance. A cat who experiences stress at every meal, twice daily for years, is under chronic stress load that affects their overall health and lifespan. The food-guarding behavior that develops at communal feeding stations is a learned response to resource competition that can escalate over time. A cat who initially tolerates communal feeding may become increasingly territorial around food as patterns of competition establish, eventually displaying aggression that did not exist when feeding competition was less pronounced. This escalation creates a feedback loop where increased aggression from one cat triggers increased anxiety in other cats, which reinforces the aggressive cat's dominance and intensifies the competitive dynamic. Now let's talk about separate feeding stations and what they actually provide beyond simple physical separation of food bowls. Separate feeding stations means each cat has a designated feeding location that is spatially separated from other cats' feeding areas by sufficient distance that the cats cannot see each other during meals and do not perceive the feeding event as a competitive situation. The separation distance required varies by household layout and cat relationships, but as a general guideline, feeding stations should be in different rooms or at minimum on opposite sides of a large room with visual barriers between them. The designated feeding locations should be consistent, meaning each cat eats in the same location at every meal rather than feeding locations rotating or being chosen arbitrarily. Consistency allows each cat to associate their feeding station with their own territory and removes the uncertainty about where feeding will occur or whether their food will be available. This predictability reduces anxiety and allows cats to approach feeding with the expectation of secure access, rather than with vigilance about potential competition. The territorial security that separate feeding stations provide is one of their most important benefits. A cat who eats in their own designated location, particularly if that location is in an area where they spend significant time and where they feel secure, experiences feeding as a positive event occurring in safe territory rather than as a risky venture into contested space. This is particularly important for shy or subordinate cats who may avoid communal feeding areas entirely when dominant cats are present, but who eat readily in quiet, secluded feeding locations where they feel safe. The individual portion control that separate feeding enables is essential for managing cats with different nutritional needs or feeding schedules. A senior cat who needs a prescription diet cannot be fed separately from a young cat on regular food if both cats eat from communal bowls. A cat who needs weight loss portions cannot be managed effectively if they have access to the larger portions being fed to a more active housemate. Separate feeding stations allow each cat to receive the appropriate food in the appropriate quantity without the owner needing to supervise constantly or to confine cats during feeding times. The eating pace normalization that occurs with separate feeding is a welfare benefit that is often underestimated. Cats who eat in calm, secure environments without competitive pressure eat at their natural pace, which allows normal digestion, reduces vomiting from eating too quickly, and permits appropriate satiation signaling that helps maintain healthy weight. The difference in eating behavior between a cat eating anxiously at a communal station and the same cat eating calmly at a separate station is often dramatic, with the calm feeding resulting in slower consumption, less post-meal vomiting, and better long-term weight management. Let's address the practical considerations of implementing separate feeding in multi-cat households, because the logistics matter and the perceived difficulty of separate feeding is often the barrier that prevents owners from making the change. The simplest implementation is to feed cats in different rooms, closing doors during meals to prevent access between feeding locations. This approach works well for households with multiple rooms that can be closed off, and where the owner is home during feeding times to manage door opening and closing. The doors can be opened after a set period, typically 15 to 20 minutes, allowing enough time for most cats to finish eating, but preventing extended unsupervised access to each other's food. For households where closing doors is impractical or where the layout does not support room-based separation, feeding stations can be established in different areas of open space, using distance and visual barriers to create separation. A cat who eats in one corner of a living room and a cat who eats in the opposite corner behind a piece of furniture may have sufficient separation that they do not experience the feeding event as competitive, particularly if they have good relationships and low food motivation. Vertical separation, using cat trees or shelves as elevated feeding platforms, can create separation in households with limited horizontal space. A cat who eats on a high platform and a cat who eats at floor level are separated by vertical distance that reduces competition even though they are in the same room. This approach works best when combined with back-turned positioning, where cats face away from each other during meals. The microchip-activated feeding bowls that have become available in recent years offer technological solution to separate feeding in open spaces. These bowls have lids that open only when the designated cat's microchip is detected nearby, preventing other cats from accessing the food. Microchip feeders allow multiple feeding stations to exist in the same room, while ensuring each cat has exclusive access to their own food. The cost is significant, typically $100 to $200 per feeder, and some cats are startled by the mechanical opening and require gradual acclimation. But for households where physical separation is difficult, microchip feeders can be transformative. The feeding schedule consideration interacts with separate versus communal feeding in important ways. Scheduled feeding, where food is offered at specific times and removed after a set period, works well with separate feeding because the owner is present to manage the process and to ensure each cat has access to their designated station. Free feeding, where food is available continuously, is incompatible with separate feeding in most multi-cat households because it requires either constant door barriers that prevent cats from accessing each other's areas or individual rooms where each cat can be confined with their food bowl. The gradual transition from communal to separate feeding should be managed carefully to avoid creating anxiety about the feeding change itself. The transition begins by simply moving feeding bowls farther apart while maintaining the same feeding times and food, gradually increasing separation over several days until the final separate locations are achieved. Cats are highly routine-oriented and often adapt quickly to new feeding locations if the change is introduced gradually and if the new locations are equally accessible and secure as the original communal location. Let's talk about when communal feeding is acceptable and when it represents a genuine welfare compromise. Because not all multi-cat households require strict feeding separation, and over-implementing separation in households where it provides minimal benefit creates unnecessary management burden. Communal feeding is acceptable in multi-cat households where all cats are of similar age and health status, where no cat requires specialized diet or portion control, where the cats have good relationships with minimal dominance hierarchy expression, and where observation confirms that all cats eat appropriate amounts at a normal pace without signs of stress or competition. These households exist, but they are the minority rather than the majority of multi-cat situations. The key verification is to actually observe feeding behavior closely rather than assuming that the absence of fighting means the feeding arrangement is fine. Watch for signs, including one cat waiting for another to finish before approaching food, one cat eating quickly and then leaving immediately rather than lingering, one cat positioning themselves between food and another cat, or one cat eating significantly less or more than expected based on their size and activity level. Any of these signs indicates that communal feeding is creating stress, even if overt conflict is absent. The single cat household question is straightforward. If you have only one cat, feeding location is determined by convenience and cat preference rather than by competition concerns. Some single cats prefer elevated feeding stations, some prefer quiet, secluded locations, and some are happy eating anywhere. The cat's preference, indicated by their eating behavior and their willingness to eat consistently, determines the optimal feeding setup. The verdict. Separate feeding stations are beneficial for the majority of multi-cat households and are genuinely necessary for households with size disparities, age differences, health conditions requiring different diets, weight management challenges, or any observable feeding-related stress or competition. The implementation of separate feeding requires initial effort to establish routines and to manage feeding logistics, but the investment produces lasting benefits in reduced feeding stress, improved weight management, better nutrition delivery, and decreased social tension around resource access. Communal feeding is acceptable only in multi-cat households where careful observation confirms that all cats eat appropriate amounts at normal pace without signs of competition, stress, or intimidation, and where no cat has special dietary needs that require individual portion or food type control. If you currently feed your cats communally and you have never closely observed their feeding behavior or considered whether the arrangement is serving all cats equally well, commit to watching several feeding sessions with full attention to body language, eating pace, and social positioning. If you observe any signs of stress, competition, or intimidation, implement separate feeding stations. The change is straightforward, the management burden is minimal once routines are established, and the welfare benefit for the cats who have been experiencing feeding stress is immediate and significant. Feeding happens twice daily for most cats, every single day for years. The cumulative effect of feeding-related stress over that timeline is meaningful, and the cumulative benefit of stress-free feeding is equally significant. Get this right, and you remove a daily stressor that has been affecting your cat's health and happiness without you realizing it. Comparison 4. Regular play versus structured exercise. Play is one of the most underutilized tools in cat care, and the failure to provide adequate play opportunities is one of the most common welfare deficits in indoor cat households. Most cat owners understand that play is good for cats in the same way they understand that exercise is good for humans. But the depth of understanding rarely goes beyond this surface acknowledgement. Play is treated as an optional enrichment activity that happens when the owner has time and energy, rather than as an essential daily requirement that directly affects the cat's physical health, mental well-being, weight management, and behavioral stability. The question this comparison addresses is not whether cats need play. They absolutely do. The question is whether casual, sporadic play sessions, when the mood strikes, are adequate, or whether structured, intentional exercise sessions, scheduled at specific times and designed to meet specific activity goals, provide meaningfully better outcomes. This comparison examines what regular play typically looks like in most households, what it accomplishes and what it misses, what structured exercise means in practice, and how to make informed decisions about play and exercise management based on your cat's age, activity level, and individual needs. Let's start with what regular play actually means in most cat households, because understanding the typical pattern clarifies why it often falls short of meeting cats' exercise needs. Regular play in most households is opportunistic and owner-driven, rather than scheduled and goal-oriented. The owner notices the cat seems energetic or bored, picks up a toy, engages in play for a few minutes until the cat loses interest or the owner is called away to other activities, and the session ends without structure or intentional progression. These sessions happen irregularly, sometimes daily, sometimes every few days, and their duration varies from 2 minutes to 20 minutes depending on the owner's available time and the cat's engagement level. The toys used in regular play are often passive toys that the cat can interact with independently, such as toy mice, balls, or crinkle toys that are left out continuously for the cat to bat around when they feel like it. These toys provide some enrichment through novel textures and sounds, but they do not provide the sustained, vigorous activity that produces genuine exercise benefit because they do not move in ways that trigger full predatory motor patterns, including stalking, chasing, pouncing, and capturing. The activity level generated by regular play is typically low to moderate. The cat may engage enthusiastically for brief periods when a toy is particularly interesting, but the play does not sustain long enough or intensely enough to produce the physical exertion that constitutes exercise. The cat's heart rate may increase briefly during active moments, but it does not remain elevated for the sustained period that produces cardiovascular conditioning and calorie expenditure. The behavioral satisfaction from regular play is partial rather than complete. Cats have instinctive predatory motor patterns that they are driven to perform regardless of whether they need to hunt for food. Indoor cats who do not have opportunities to express these patterns fully experience frustration that manifests as redirected energy toward inappropriate targets, including owners' feet during movement, ambushing behaviors, and destructive activities like knocking objects off surfaces or excessive nighttime vocalization. Regular play provides some outlet for predatory energy, but does not typically provide the complete hunting sequence that produces genuine behavioral satisfaction. The weight management contribution from regular play is minimal because the calorie expenditure from brief, low-intensity play sessions is insufficient to meaningfully affect energy balance. A cat who plays casually for 5 minutes daily burns approximately 10 to 15 calories, which is negligible relative to their total daily calorie needs and which is easily offset by even a small increase in food intake or by a single high-calorie treat. Now let's talk about structured exercise and what distinguishes it from regular play in ways that produce genuinely different outcomes. Structured exercise means scheduled, intentional play sessions designed to produce sustained, vigorous activity that meets specific goals for physical exertion, predatory motor pattern expression, and behavioral enrichment. The sessions are scheduled at consistent times daily rather than occurring sporadically when convenient. They are conducted with specific interactive toys that simulate prey movement and that trigger full predatory sequences. They are designed to achieve target duration and intensity levels that produce genuine exercise benefit rather than ending when the cat's interest wanes or when the owner loses focus. The scheduling component is more important than most owners realize. Cats are crepuscular, meaning their natural activity peaks occur at dawn and dusk when their prey species are most active. A structured exercise session scheduled in the evening, timed to coincide with the cat's natural activity peak, works with the cat's biology rather than against it, and produces higher engagement and more vigorous activity than sessions scheduled at random times when the cat may be in a resting phase of their activity cycle. The consistent daily scheduling also creates behavioral anticipation that is itself enriching. A cat who knows that vigorous play happens at 7 p.m. every evening begins to anticipate the session, exhibiting increased energy and readiness as the scheduled time approaches. This anticipation is a form of mental stimulation that provides engagement beyond the play session itself and that contributes to the cat's overall activity level throughout the day. The interactive toy selection for structured exercise focuses on wand toys, also called fishing pole toys, that consist of a handle attached to a string with a lure at the end. These toys allow the owner to control movement patterns that simulate prey behavior, including erratic movement, sudden direction changes, hiding behind obstacles, and periods of stillness followed by rapid motion. The movement patterns trigger stalking and chasing behaviors that passive toys cannot elicit, and the ability to control the toy's movement allows the owner to match the difficulty level to the cat's athletic ability, and to create successful hunting outcomes that provide behavioral satisfaction. Laser pointers are commonly used for cat exercise and deserve specific discussion because they have both advantages and significant limitations. The advantage of laser pointers is that they create fast, erratic movement that many cats find highly stimulating and that triggers intense chasing behavior with minimal effort from the owner. The limitation is that laser pointers provide no tactile capture reward because the cat can never actually catch the light. This creates frustration for some cats who become fixated on the uncatchable prey and who do not experience the completion of the hunting sequence that provides satisfaction. The best practice for laser pointer use is to incorporate it into a play session that includes tactile toys, using the laser to create vigorous chasing activity, and then transitioning to a wand toy or throwing a physical toy for the final pounce and capture. This combination provides the exercise benefit of laser chasing while preventing the frustration of an incomplete hunting sequence. The target duration for structured exercise sessions is 15 to 20 minutes of sustained active engagement, meaning the cat is actively stalking, chasing, or pouncing for the majority of the session rather than passively watching or resting. This duration is based on activity studies showing that 15 to 20 minutes of vigorous play produces measurable increases in heart rate and respiration that constitute genuine exercise, and that 15 to 20 minutes is sustainable for most cats without creating exhaustion or loss of interest. The session structure typically follows a hunting sequence arc that begins with slow, subtle movements that trigger stalking behavior, builds to fast chasing with successful pounces and captures, and ends with a period of slower activity that allows the cat to catch their breath and transition out of high arousal hunting mode. Ending sessions abruptly while the cat is at peak arousal can leave the cat overstimulated and can contribute to nighttime activity problems if sessions occur in the evening. The multiple sessions question is relevant for young, highly energetic cats who may benefit from 2 structured exercise sessions daily, one in the morning and one in the evening, to provide adequate outlet for their energy. Senior cats and less active cats may find a single 15-minute session adequate. The individual cat's activity level, weight status, and behavior between sessions guide the decision about whether 1 or 2 daily sessions are appropriate. Let's talk about the specific benefits that structured exercise provides beyond what regular play accomplishes, because the distinction matters for deciding whether the additional effort is justified. The weight management benefit of structured exercise is genuine and measurable. A 10-pound cat engaging in 20 minutes of vigorous play burns approximately 40 to 60 calories, which is 2 to 3 times the calorie expenditure of casual play, and which represents a meaningful portion of daily calorie needs. For cats who are overweight or who are at risk for obesity, daily structured exercise as part of a comprehensive weight management program that also includes portion control creates calorie deficit that produces gradual, healthy weight loss. The muscle mass maintenance benefit is particularly important for senior cats who are at risk for sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle tissue that contributes to reduced mobility and increased frailty. Regular, vigorous exercise that engages jumping, sprinting, and pouncing maintains muscle strength and coordination in ways that casual activity does not, helping senior cats maintain physical capability and reducing fall risk and injury susceptibility. The behavioral problem reduction from structured exercise is one of the most immediately noticeable benefits. Cats who receive adequate vigorous exercise show dramatic reductions in destructive behaviors, nighttime activity, and play aggression toward humans. The mechanism is straightforward. The cat's need for predatory motor pattern expression and energy expenditure is met through appropriate play, leaving less energy and drive available for redirected toward inappropriate targets. The bond strengthening that happens through consistent interactive play is a subtler benefit that many owners do not anticipate. Structured exercise sessions are shared activities where the owner is fully engaged and responsive to the cat's behavior, creating positive interaction patterns that strengthen the relationship. Cats who receive regular structured play from their owners show increased social engagement, more frequent proximity seeking, and more responsive behavior to owner cues. The mental stimulation from the problem-solving aspect of hunting play is enrichment that passive toys do not provide. A cat stalking a wand toy that moves unpredictably is making decisions about timing, positioning, and strategy in real time. This cognitive engagement is as valuable as the physical exercise for maintaining mental acuity and preventing the boredom that contributes to depression and lethargy in understimulated indoor cats. The verdict. Regular play as it is typically practiced in most cat households, meaning sporadic, low-intensity, brief sessions with passive toys, provides minimal exercise benefit and partial behavioral enrichment, but does not meet the genuine activity needs of most indoor cats. Structured exercise, meaning scheduled daily sessions of 15 to 20 minutes, using interactive toys that simulate prey movement and that produce sustained, vigorous activity, provides genuine health benefits, including weight management, muscle mass maintenance, behavioral problem reduction, and mental stimulation that regular play does not accomplish. The investment in structured exercise is 15 to 20 minutes daily, which is modest relative to the significant welfare benefit it provides. The barrier for most owners is not time availability but habit formation and the perception that play is optional rather than essential. If you currently provide only sporadic casual play for your cat and your cat is overweight, exhibits behavioral problems like nighttime activity or play aggression, or seems lethargic and unengaged, implement daily structured exercise sessions and observe the changes over 2 to 4 weeks. The behavioral improvements are typically obvious within days, and the physical health benefits accumulate over weeks to months. If you have a senior cat who is slowing down and becoming less active, do not assume that rest is what they need. Senior cats benefit enormously from continued regular exercise that maintains muscle mass and mobility. Adjust the session intensity to match their capability, allowing more rest between active bursts and using slower toy movements, but maintain the daily schedule and the session duration. Play is not optional. It is essential cat care that directly affects health, behavior, and quality of life. Treat it with the same importance you give feeding and litter box maintenance. Schedule it into your daily routine and commit to providing the vigorous, interactive play that your cat's predatory instincts demand and that their indoor environment cannot otherwise provide. Comparison 5. Ramp versus steps for senior cats and cats with mobility issues. The recognition that senior cats experience mobility limitations that affect their quality of life is a relatively recent development in cat care, and the availability of assistive equipment to address those limitations is even more recent. For decades, the standard approach to senior cat care assumed that cats would naturally slow down with age, that jumping difficulty was an inevitable consequence of aging, and that the appropriate response was to accept the cat's reduced access to elevated surfaces as normal rather than as a problem that could be addressed. This assumption was wrong, and it cost senior cats years of reduced mobility, pain, and loss of access to the elevated territory that cats instinctively prefer. We now understand that arthritis affects an estimated 90% of cats over 12 years of age, that arthritis causes genuine pain and functional limitation, and that environmental modifications, including ramps and steps, can dramatically improve mobility and quality of life for affected cats. The question is not whether to provide mobility assistance for senior cats who are struggling with jumps. The question is what form that assistance should take, and specifically, whether ramps or steps better serve the needs of cats with different types and severities of mobility limitation. This comparison examines the biomechanics of how cats use ramps versus steps, what conditions each option addresses most effectively, how to choose between them based on your cat's specific limitations, and how to implement mobility assistance in ways that cats actually use rather than avoid. Let's start with what happens biomechanically when cats lose mobility. because understanding the physical limitation clarifies what type of assistance is most helpful. Arthritis in cats most commonly affects the elbows, hips, knees, and lower spine. The joint degeneration causes pain during movement, particularly during the extension and flexion that occurs when jumping up to or down from elevated surfaces. A cat with elbow arthritis experiences pain when extending the front legs to land from a jump down. A cat with hip or knee arthritis experiences pain when the rear legs push off to propel the body upward during a jump up. The pain is not constant, but is triggered specifically by the movement that stresses the affected joints. The behavioral manifestation of arthritis-related mobility limitation is that cats begin avoiding the movements that cause pain. A cat who previously jumped easily onto counters, beds, or cat trees begins hesitating before jumps, choosing lower jumping routes, or avoiding elevated surfaces entirely. The avoidance is often gradual and subtle enough that owners attribute it to the cat simply preferring floor-level locations with age, rather than recognizing it as pain-driven behavior change. The diagnostic challenge is that cats hide pain exceptionally well, and obvious lameness or vocalization is rare even with significant arthritis. The signs are behavioral: reduced jumping frequency, reluctance to jump to previously preferred heights, using intermediate surfaces to reach heights that were previously accessed in a single jump, stiffness after resting, and reduced grooming of hard-to-reach areas like the lower back or hindquarters. The intervention options for arthritis-related mobility limitation include pain medication, which we will address in a later comparison, weight management to reduce load on affected joints, and environmental modifications that allow the cat to access elevated surfaces without requiring the painful jumping movements. Environmental modification does not treat the arthritis or reduce pain, but it restores access to elevated territory without requiring the cat to experience pain every time they want to reach their favorite resting spot. Now let's talk about ramps and how they function mechanically for cats with mobility limitations. A ramp is an inclined surface that allows a cat to walk gradually from a lower level to a higher level without requiring jumping movements. The biomechanical advantage of ramps is that they eliminate the propulsive force required for jumping up and the impact absorption required for jumping down, replacing those movements with walking along an incline that distributes force more evenly across the gait cycle, and that does not create the acute joint loading that jumping produces. The incline angle of the ramp is critical to usability. A shallow incline, typically 12 to 15 degrees, is most comfortable for cats with arthritis because it minimizes the effort required and does not create significant additional stress on affected joints. Steeper inclines require more muscular effort and create awkward body positioning that some cats with mobility limitations find difficult or painful. The trade-off is that shallow inclines require longer ramp lengths to reach a given height, consuming more floor space than steeper ramps. The surface texture of the ramp affects traction and confidence. A smooth surface can be slippery, particularly for cats with reduced strength or coordination, who cannot grip effectively during the incline walk. Carpeted ramps or ramps with textured surfaces provide traction that allows confident movement without slip risk. Some cats are initially hesitant to use ramps because the inclined surface is unfamiliar, and providing good traction reduces the learning period by making the ramp feel secure from the first use. The width of the ramp affects stability and comfort. Narrow ramps, particularly those under 6 inches wide, can feel precarious to cats who are already unsteady from arthritis or muscle weakness. Ramps at least 8 to 10 inches wide provide enough space that cats can adjust their positioning during the walk and can use the ramp confidently without fear of falling off the edge. The primary advantage of ramps is that they are the most gentle mobility assistance option for cats with severe arthritis or significant weakness who find even stepping movements uncomfortable. A cat who cannot comfortably navigate steps due to the repeated joint flexion and extension that stepping requires may be able to use a ramp successfully because the walking motion on an incline is smoother and creates less acute joint stress. The primary disadvantage of ramps is floor space consumption. A ramp with a shallow incline sufficient to reach a bed or couch that is 24 inches high requires a ramp length of 8 to 10 feet, which is substantial space that may not be available in small rooms or in homes where floor space is limited. The space requirement makes ramps impractical in some households, regardless of how beneficial they would be for the cat. Now let's talk about steps and how they differ from ramps in their biomechanical demands and practical implementation. Pet steps are essentially staircases with shallower risers and deeper treads than human stairs, designed to allow cats to reach elevated surfaces through a series of small vertical movements rather than a single large jump. The biomechanical demand of steps is fundamentally different from ramps because steps require discrete stepping movements with repeated joint flexion and extension, whereas ramps require continuous walking motion. The step height, meaning the vertical distance between each step, is the most important design parameter. Steps designed for cats with mobility limitations should have risers no higher than 4 to 6 inches, allowing the cat to step up with minimal effort and without requiring the deep joint flexion that tall steps demand. Human stairs typically have 7 to 8 inch risers, which are too tall for many senior cats with arthritis. The number of steps required to reach a given height depends on the step height. To reach a bed that is 24 inches high using steps with 4-inch risers requires 6 steps. To reach the same height using steps with 6-inch risers requires 4 steps. Fewer steps means shorter overall step unit length, which consumes less floor space but requires larger stepping movements that may be more difficult for cats with severe limitations. The tread depth, meaning the horizontal distance from the front to the back of each step, affects stability and comfort. Deep treads allow cats to position all 4 paws on the step comfortably and to pause between steps if needed. Shallow treads require cats to continue movement immediately to the next step because there is insufficient space to rest. For senior cats who tire easily or who need time between movements, deep treads provide significant benefit. The primary advantage of steps is space efficiency. A 4-step unit reaching a height of 24 inches requires only 24 to 30 inches of floor length, which is a fraction of the space a ramp would require for the same height. This makes steps practical in situations where ramps would be impossible to implement due to space constraints. The primary disadvantage of steps is that they require more joint movement than ramps and may be difficult or painful for cats with severe arthritis who struggle with repeated stepping motions. For these cats, the joint flexion and extension required for each step may be sufficiently uncomfortable that the cat avoids using the steps despite the access they provide. Let's address the specific use cases where each option is clearly preferable, because the choice between ramps and steps is not arbitrary, but is determined by the cat's specific limitations and the household's practical constraints. Ramps are preferable for cats with severe arthritis affecting multiple joints who find even stepping movements uncomfortable, cats with significant muscle weakness or neurological conditions affecting coordination, very senior cats or cats recovering from surgery who need the gentlest possible mobility assistance, households with adequate floor space to accommodate the length of shallow incline ramps. Steps are preferable for cats with mild to moderate arthritis who retain reasonable stepping ability, households with limited floor space where ramps are not practical, access to moderate heights like beds and couches, where a reasonable number of steps can provide access without excessive step units, cats who are hesitant about ramps due to the unfamiliar inclined surface. The combination approach, using both ramps and steps in different locations based on which is most practical for each specific elevated surface, is common in households with senior cats and is often the most effective solution. A ramp might provide access to a favorite window perch where floor space is available, while steps provide access to the bed where floor space is limited. The introduction process for ramps and steps matters because some cats are initially hesitant about using assistive equipment, particularly if they have never encountered ramps or steps before. The introduction should be gradual, with treats or toys used to encourage the cat to approach and investigate the equipment, and praise or treats given for any interaction with the ramp or steps, including sniffing, placing paws on the surface, or attempting partial use. Forcing a hesitant cat to use ramps or steps by blocking alternative access or by placing them on the equipment against their will creates negative associations that make voluntary use less likely. Patience and positive reinforcement create positive associations that lead to confident, independent use within days to weeks for most cats. The commercial product quality varies enormously in both ramps and steps, and the investment in sturdy, well-designed equipment is worthwhile for both safety and longevity. Poorly constructed steps that wobble or that have unstable treads create fall risk and reluctance to use. Ramps that flex under the cat's weight or that have slippery surfaces create similar problems. Key quality indicators include solid construction without wobbling, secure attachment to the elevated surface or floor if applicable, appropriate surface texture for traction, and appropriate dimensions for cat use rather than being designed for small dogs and marketed for cats as an afterthought. The verdict: ramps and steps are both legitimate mobility assistance options for senior cats and cats with arthritis or other mobility limitations, and the choice between them depends on the severity of the cat's condition and the practical constraints of the household. Ramps provide the gentlest biomechanical assistance and are the better choice for cats with severe arthritis or significant weakness, but they require substantial floor space that makes them impractical in some homes. Steps provide more compact mobility assistance that is practical in space-limited situations, and that is adequate for cats with mild to moderate mobility limitations who retain reasonable stepping ability. Many households benefit from using both ramps and steps in different locations based on which is most appropriate for each specific situation, and this combination approach provides maximum accessibility with reasonable space consumption. The most important principle is to provide some form of mobility assistance once jumping difficulty becomes apparent, rather than waiting until the cat has completely lost access to elevated surfaces and has been experiencing months or years of pain-limited mobility. Early intervention when jumping difficulty first appears preserves access to preferred elevated territory and prevents the behavioral and emotional consequences of prolonged mobility restriction. If your senior cat is showing any signs of jumping hesitation, reduced frequency of using elevated surfaces, or reluctance to jump to heights they previously accessed easily, implement mobility assistance now. The investment is modest, the space requirement is manageable in most homes, and the quality of life improvement for the cat is immediate and substantial. Do not wait until the cat is suffering obvious mobility limitation before addressing a problem that is treatable through simple environmental modification. Comparison 6. Single kitten versus pair of kittens. The decision to adopt one kitten or two is one of the most consequential choices in kitten adoption, and it is a decision that most people make based on practical constraints like cost and space, rather than on what is actually best for the kitten's development and long-term welfare. The single kitten adoption is the default choice for most households because it seems simpler, less expensive, and more manageable than taking on two kittens simultaneously. And for households with existing adult cats, the assumption is often that a single kitten will integrate more easily and will bond with the resident cat, making a second kitten unnecessary. The reality is more complex. Kittens have developmental and social needs that are best met through interaction with other kittens, and a single kitten in a household without other young cats often experiences social deprivation that affects their behavioral development in ways that persist into adulthood. The pair adoption addresses these needs and provides benefits that surprise most owners who assume two kittens would be twice the work, when in fact they are often easier to manage than a single kitten. This comparison examines what kittens need developmentally, what a single kitten misses without a same-age companion, what benefits pairs provide, and how to make informed decisions about single versus pair adoption based on your specific household situation. Let's start with what happens developmentally during the kitten period, because understanding the critical learning that occurs between 8 and 16 weeks of age clarifies why companionship during this window matters. Kittens learn social skills, bite inhibition, play boundaries, and communication through interaction with their mother and litter mates during the first 8 to 12 weeks of life. This learning continues after adoption, and kittens who are adopted at 8 to 12 weeks of age, which is the standard adoption age, are still in an active learning period where social interaction with other kittens provides essential feedback about appropriate play intensity, boundaries, and communication. Play fighting between kittens is not just entertainment. It is the mechanism through which kittens learn bite inhibition, meaning the understanding that biting too hard during play causes the other kitten to disengage, and that controlling bite force is necessary to maintain play interactions. A kitten who bites too hard during play with a litter mate receives immediate feedback in the form of a yelp, retaliation, or termination of play, which teaches the kitten to modulate bite force in future interactions. The energy outlet that another kitten provides is one of the most immediately apparent benefits of pair adoption. Kittens have extraordinary energy levels and need extensive daily play to discharge that energy in healthy ways. A single kitten relies entirely on the owner to provide play opportunities, which means the owner must commit to multiple extended interactive play sessions daily to meet the kitten's exercise needs. Most owners cannot or do not provide adequate play for a single kitten, leading to understimulation, boredom, and behavioral problems, including destructive behavior and nighttime activity. A pair of kittens entertain each other through constant play fighting, chasing, and interactive games that require no owner participation. The kittens tire each other out through their interactions, reducing the play demand on the owner and reducing the likelihood of redirected play aggression toward humans. The owner still benefits from playing with the kittens to build bonds and to provide enrichment, but the pressure to be the kitten's sole source of activity is eliminated. The loneliness factor for single kittens is real, particularly for kittens who are left alone during work hours in households where no other pets are present. Kittens are social animals who in nature would be living with their mother and litter mates for months beyond the 8 to 12 week adoption age. A single kitten alone in an empty house for 8 to 10 hours daily is experiencing social isolation that is developmentally abnormal and that can contribute to anxiety, depression, and attachment problems. A pair of kittens has constant companionship that prevents the loneliness and anxiety that social isolation creates. The kittens sleep together, play together, and groom each other, providing the social interaction and physical contact that kittens instinctively seek. This companionship is particularly important during the owner's absence, when a single kitten would be entirely alone. Now let's address the specific concern that many people have about pair adoption, the assumption that two kittens will be twice the work, twice the cost, and twice the chaos of a single kitten. The work of caring for two kittens is not double the work of caring for one kitten. Feeding requires putting out 2 bowls instead of 1. Litter box maintenance is the same regardless of whether 1 or 2 kittens are using the boxes, though some households add an additional box. Veterinary care costs are doubled because each kitten requires vaccinations, spaying or neutering, and preventive care. But the time investment in trips to the vet is not doubled because both kittens can be taken to appointments together. The behavioral management of 2 kittens is often easier than managing a single kitten because the kittens occupy each other and because their play energy is directed at each other rather than at the owner or at household items. Owners of single kittens frequently report exhaustion from trying to keep up with their kitten's energy and from dealing with play aggression and nighttime activity. Owners of kitten pairs frequently report that the kittens are easy and low maintenance because the kittens keep each other entertained and sleep peacefully through the night after tiring each other out during the day. The cost consideration is legitimate and affects real households. 2 kittens cost more than 1 kitten in adoption fees, in initial veterinary care, in spaying/neutering, and in ongoing food and litter expenses. For households with tight budgets, the cost difference may be prohibitive. The pragmatic response is to factor the long-term behavioral benefits and the reduced likelihood of behavior problems requiring professional intervention or rehoming into the cost calculation, rather than looking only at immediate expenses. The space consideration is typically a non-issue. 2 kittens do not require twice the space of 1 kitten because they share space and because kittens occupy relatively little space regardless of number. A household with adequate space for 1 kitten has adequate space for 2. Let's talk about the specific situations where single kitten adoption is appropriate and where it may be the better choice than adopting a pair. Single kitten adoption is appropriate when the household already has a young cat, typically under 2 to 3 years old, who will serve as a play companion for the kitten. The household has multiple existing cats with good social dynamics who will provide adequate social interaction for the kitten. The adopter works from home or is otherwise present most of the time to provide extensive interaction and play. Financial constraints make caring for 2 kittens genuinely unaffordable, rather than merely more expensive. The adopter is specifically bonding with a single kitten and is committed to providing the extensive interaction and enrichment that a solo kitten requires. The existing adult cat consideration requires nuance because not all adult cats are appropriate companions for kittens. An adult cat who is social, playful, and tolerant will often engage positively with a kitten and will provide some of the developmental benefits that a same-age companion would provide. An adult cat who is elderly, antisocial, or stressed by high-energy interactions will not serve as an adequate kitten companion and may in fact be negatively affected by the addition of a rambunctious kitten to the household. The age gap matters. An adult cat who is 2 to 4 years old is much more likely to engage playfully with a kitten than a cat who is 10 or older. The younger adult retains enough playfulness and energy to interact with the kitten in ways that provide developmental benefit. The senior adult is likely to find the kitten overwhelming and stressful. Pair adoption is strongly preferred when the household has no existing pets, meaning the kitten would otherwise be entirely alone. The household has only senior cats or cats with health issues who will not engage playfully with a kitten. The adopter works full-time or is frequently away from home for extended periods. The adopter wants to minimize behavior problems and maximize the likelihood of well-adjusted adult cats. The bonded pair advantage is worth highlighting. Many shelters and rescue organizations identify bonded kitten pairs, meaning kittens who have formed strong attachments to each other and who show distress when separated. Adopting a bonded pair provides all the benefits of pair adoption, while also preventing the separation distress that occurs when bonded kittens are adopted separately. Bonded pairs are typically litter mates, but can also be unrelated kittens who were raised together and who have formed bonds through their shared experience. The introduction consideration when adopting pairs into households with existing cats follows the same slow introduction protocol discussed in an earlier comparison. 2 kittens are introduced as a unit, and the existing cats meet both kittens simultaneously rather than sequentially. The presence of 2 kittens rather than 1 does not make the introduction more difficult, and in some cases makes it easier because the kittens have each other for support during the stressful introduction period. The long-term outcome evidence from shelter follow-up studies consistently shows that pairs adopted together have lower rates of behavioral problems, lower rates of return to shelters, and higher owner satisfaction than single kittens adopted into households without appropriate companions. The behavior problems that single kittens develop, including play aggression, nighttime activity, and destructive behavior, are among the most common reasons for cat relinquishment to shelters, and preventing these problems through appropriate social companionship during kittenhood produces better outcomes for both the cats and the owners. The verdict pair adoption is the better choice for most kitten adoptions, particularly for households without existing young cats, who will serve as play companions. The developmental benefits, behavioral advantages, and mutual companionship that pairs provide outweigh the modest additional cost and complexity, and the widely held assumption that 2 kittens will be twice the work is not supported by the experience of owners who adopt pairs. Single kitten adoption is appropriate in specific circumstances, including households with young existing cats who will engage with the kitten, households where the owner is present most of the time to provide extensive interaction, or situations where financial constraints make pair adoption genuinely unaffordable. If you are planning to adopt a kitten and your household does not currently have a young, playful cat, seriously consider adopting 2 kittens instead of 1. Visit shelters and rescues that have bonded pairs available, or adopt 2 kittens from the same litter. The initial cost difference is offset by reduced likelihood of behavior problems, reduced veterinary costs from stress-related illness, and significantly reduced probability of needing to rehome a cat due to behavioral issues that developed from inadequate socialization. The kittens will be easier to care for than you expect, more entertaining than you anticipate, and will develop into better adjusted adult cats than a single kitten raised without appropriate same-age companionship. The investment in a pair is one of the best decisions you can make for the welfare of the cats and for your own long-term satisfaction with cat ownership. Comparison 7. Grain-inclusive versus grain-free litter. The grain-free movement that swept through cat food marketing has extended into cat litter, and the result is a product category that claims to offer advantages over traditional grain-based litters, without providing clear evidence that those advantages are real or meaningful for most cats. Grain-free litter is marketed as more natural, less allergenic, and better for cats with sensitivities, using the same appeals to nature and health that grain-free food marketing employed successfully, despite weak supporting evidence. The question is whether the grain content of litter actually matters for cat health, comfort, or litter box use, or whether grain-free litter is primarily a marketing category that allows manufacturers to charge premium prices for products that are not meaningfully superior to grain-inclusive alternatives. This comparison examines what grain-inclusive and grain-free litters actually contain, what the claimed advantages of grain-free formulations are, and whether evidence supports them, how cats respond to different litter substrates, and how to make informed decisions about litter selection based on performance criteria that actually matter rather than on marketing claims about grain content. Let's start with what grain-inclusive litters are and why grain has been a component of many litter products, because understanding the functional role of grain clarifies whether removing it provides genuine benefit. Grain-inclusive litters are litters that contain wheat, corn, or other cereal grains as primary or secondary ingredients. The grain serves several functional purposes in litter formulations. In clumping litters, grain starches contribute to the binding that allows urine-soaked litter to form cohesive clumps that can be scooped intact. In non-clumping litters, grain provides absorbent material that draws moisture away from the surface and reduces tracking. Grain is also relatively inexpensive compared to some alternative litter materials, making grain-inclusive formulations cost-effective while maintaining adequate performance. The most common grain-inclusive litter types include wheat-based litters, which use wheat kernels or wheat byproducts as the primary ingredient and which clump through the natural starches in wheat. Corn-based litters use whole kernel corn or corn cob granules and function similarly to wheat litters with clumping capability from corn starches. Some clay-based clumping litters include grain components as secondary ingredients that enhance clumping or reduce dust, though clay is the primary active ingredient. The grain-free litter category includes products made from materials like walnut shells, pine, paper, silica gel crystals, and various plant fibers that do not contain cereal grains. The functional performance of these litters varies enormously depending on the specific material used, and the grain-free designation does not predict performance characteristics in any consistent way. A pine-based grain-free litter and a silica crystal grain-free litter perform completely differently despite both being grain-free. Now let's examine the claimed advantages of grain-free litter and assess whether evidence supports these claims. Claim: grain-free litter is less allergenic and better for cats with grain sensitivities. The evaluation of this claim requires understanding whether cats can have grain allergies and whether litter contact would trigger those allergies. Food allergies in cats are reactions to proteins, and the most common food allergens in cats are animal proteins, like beef, fish, and chicken, rather than grains. Grain allergies in cats are uncommon, and when they do occur, they are reactions to ingested grain proteins rather than to grain contact through litter. A cat with a genuine grain allergy would need to ingest the grain to experience an allergic reaction. Litter box use does not involve intentional grain ingestion, though some incidental litter consumption can occur during grooming if litter particles adhere to paws and are licked off during cleaning. The amount of grain protein consumed through incidental litter contact is negligible compared to dietary grain content, and there is no documented evidence that grain-inclusive litters trigger allergic reactions in cats with grain sensitivities. The claim that grain-free litters are less allergenic is not supported by evidence and appears to be marketing language borrowed from grain-free food claims without consideration for whether the same logic applies to litter. Claim: grain-free litter is more natural and better for cats. The appeal to nature assumes that materials other than grain are more aligned with what cats would encounter naturally. But this argument is incoherent in the context of litter boxes, which are themselves entirely unnatural. Cats in nature eliminate on soil, sand, or leaf litter, none of which are grain-based, but also none of which are walnut shells, pine pellets, or silica crystals. The naturalness of litter substrate is not a meaningful criterion for litter selection because the entire concept of indoor litter boxes is artificial. What matters is whether the substrate is safe, effective at odor control and absorption, comfortable for the cat to use, and easy for the owner to maintain. Grain-free materials are not inherently more natural or better aligned with cat preferences than grain-inclusive materials. Claim: grain-free litter is better for the environment. Some grain-free litters are made from renewable plant materials or from byproducts of other industries, like walnut shell litter, made from shells left over from walnut processing. These materials can have legitimate environmental advantages over clay-based litters that require strip mining. However, grain-inclusive litters made from wheat or corn are also made from renewable plant materials, so the environmental advantage is not inherent to grain-free status, but depends on the specific material used and its production process. Clay-based litters, which are the most environmentally problematic category due to mining impacts, can be either grain-inclusive or grain-free, depending on whether grain components are added to the clay base. The grain content is not the determining factor in environmental impact. The performance characteristics that actually matter for litter selection are independent of whether the litter is grain-inclusive or grain-free. Let's examine what those characteristics are and how to evaluate litter based on criteria that affect cat comfort and owner satisfaction. Cat preference and acceptability is the most important criterion. If the cat refuses to use the litter consistently, no other advantage matters. Cat litter preference research consistently shows that cats prefer fine-grained, unscented, clumping litters that resemble the texture of soil or sand. This preference is based on texture and particle size, rather than on the specific material composition. Grain-based litters like wheat and corn tend to have fine to medium grain size that many cats find acceptable. Some grain-free litters like walnut shell litter also have fine grain size. Other grain-free litters like pine pellets or paper pellets have large particle size that many cats find less comfortable than fine-grained substrates. The grain content does not predict cat preference. The particle size, texture, and scent determine preference, and both grain-inclusive and grain-free litters span the full range of these characteristics. Clumping performance matters for ease of cleaning and odor control. Effective clumping allows urine-soaked litter to form cohesive masses that can be scooped completely, removing odor sources and keeping the remaining clean litter dry. Poor clumping results in urine spreading through the litter box and saturating clean litter, requiring more frequent complete litter changes. Grain-based clumping litters using wheat or corn starches generally perform well in clumping tests and form tight scoopable clumps. Some grain-free clumping litters using plant gums or other binding agents also perform well. Non-clumping grain-free litters like pine pellets or silica crystals do not clump by design and require different maintenance approaches. The grain content does not determine clumping performance. The specific formulation and binding mechanism determine clumping quality. Odor control is achieved through absorption that removes moisture, where odor-causing bacteria thrive, through clumping that allows removal of waste before odor develops, and in some litters through additives like baking soda or carbon that neutralize odors chemically. Grain-based litters control odor primarily through absorption and clumping. Grain-free litters use various mechanisms depending on material, with some like pine releasing natural odors that mask waste smells, and others like silica crystals, absorbing and encapsulating moisture and odor. Both grain-inclusive and grain-free litters can provide excellent odor control or poor odor control, depending on formulation quality. The grain content is not the determining factor. Dust level affects both cat respiratory health and owner cleaning burden. High dust litters create clouds of particles during pouring and scooping that cats and owners inhale and that settle on surfaces throughout the home. Low dust litters minimize respiratory exposure and reduce cleaning requirements. Grain-based litters vary in dust level depending on processing, with some wheat and corn litters being low dust and others being dustier. Clay-based litters, which can be grain-inclusive or grain-free, are typically the dustiest category. Some grain-free litters like pine and paper are low dust. Silica crystal litters vary. Dust level is determined by the material and processing method, not by grain content. Tracking refers to litter particles that adhere to cat paws and are carried outside the litter box, spreading through the home. Fine-grained litters track more than larger particles because fine particles stick to paws more readily. Both grain-inclusive and grain-free litters can be fine-grained or coarse-grained, so tracking potential is not predicted by grain content. The verdict: grain-free litter is a marketing category that does not confer consistent performance advantages over grain-inclusive litters, and the claimed benefits, including reduced allergenicity, increased naturalness, and improved environmental impact, are not supported by evidence or are dependent on factors other than grain content. Litter selection should be based on performance characteristics that actually affect cat comfort and owner satisfaction, including particle size and texture, clumping quality, odor control effectiveness, dust level, and tracking tendency. Both grain-inclusive and grain-free litters span the full range of performance on these criteria, and excellent litters exist in both categories. If your cat is currently using a grain-inclusive litter and shows no signs of litter box avoidance, respiratory issues, or skin problems, there is no compelling reason to switch to grain-free litter. The grain content is not causing problems, and the switch may introduce new variables that could disrupt successful litter box use. If you are selecting litter for a new cat or evaluating options due to litter box problems, focus on the characteristics that matter. Choose fine-grained, unscented litter if your cat has shown preference for this texture. Choose low-dust formulations to protect respiratory health. Choose effective clumping if you prefer daily scooping maintenance, and ignore marketing claims about grain content that are not supported by meaningful performance differences. The grain-free litter trend is following the same pattern as grain-free food, where marketing claims outpaced evidence and where premium prices were charged for products that were not demonstrably superior for most consumers. Do not pay premium prices for grain-free litter unless the specific product you are purchasing has performance advantages that justify the cost, and those advantages are independent of whether the litter contains grain. Comparison 8. Cat grass versus cat-safe plants. The observation that many cats seek out and chew on vegetation despite being obligate carnivores has puzzled cat owners and researchers for decades, and the explanations for this behavior range from evidence-based hypotheses about digestive function to folk theories about instinctive self-medication that are not supported by research. What is clear is that many cats are attracted to plant material, that this attraction can lead them to chew on houseplants that may be toxic, and that providing appropriate safe plant options allows cats to express this behavior without risking poisoning from ornamental plants that are dangerous when ingested. The two primary options for providing safe vegetation are cat grass, which is specifically grown for cat consumption, and which consists of young grass shoots from cereal grains, and cat-safe houseplants, which are ornamental plants from species that are non-toxic to cats, and which can serve both decorative and enrichment purposes. This comparison examines what each option provides, what the actual benefits of plant consumption are for cats, how to implement each option safely, and how to make informed decisions about whether to provide vegetation and in what form. Let's start with cat grass and what it actually is, because the term is used loosely and can refer to several different grass types with different characteristics. Cat grass is typically grown from seeds of wheat, oat, barley, or rye, which are cereal grasses that produce tender young shoots that cats find palatable. The grass is grown in shallow containers with soil or growing medium, and it reaches harvestable height of 3 to 6 inches within 1 to 2 weeks of planting. The grass can be maintained as a living plant that the cat grazes continuously, or it can be harvested and offered as cut grass that the cat consumes and that is replaced with fresh grass from new plantings. The appeal of cat grass to cats appears to be primarily textural and behavioral rather than nutritional. Cats are attracted to the texture of grass blades and to the sensory experience of chewing and tearing vegetation. The behavior resembles the chewing and tearing of prey tissue and may satisfy similar motor patterns, though this hypothesis is speculative and not definitively established through research. The proposed benefits of cat grass include assistance with hairball management, provision of trace nutrients like folic acid, and offering of dietary fiber that aids digestion. Let's examine each of these claims with appropriate skepticism. Hairball assistance claim. The theory is that grass provides rough fiber that helps move ingested hair through the digestive tract, either by stimulating vomiting that expels hair from the stomach or by adding bulk to feces that carries hair through to elimination. The evidence for this mechanism is weak. Some cats do vomit after eating grass, and the vomit may contain hair, but many cats eat grass without vomiting, and effective hairball management is better achieved through regular brushing that removes loose hair before ingestion than through consumption of grass that may or may not facilitate hair passage. Folic acid provision claim. Grass contains folic acid, a B vitamin important for various metabolic processes. Cats obtain folic acid from their prey or from commercial cat food that is supplemented with B vitamins. And there is no documented deficiency in domestic cats eating complete and balanced diets that would create a need for additional folic acid from grass consumption. This claim appears to be extrapolated from the fact that grass contains folic acid, rather than from evidence that cats need supplemental folic acid or that grass consumption meaningfully contributes to folic acid intake. Fiber provision claim. Grass provides indigestible fiber that could theoretically aid in digestive motility. Cats have short digestive tracts adapted for processing meat and do not have the digestive anatomy to break down plant fiber efficiently. The fiber from grass passes through largely undigested and may add bulk to feces, but whether this provides genuine digestive benefit for healthy cats is unclear. The honest assessment is that the benefits of cat grass are modest and largely behavioral rather than physiological. Cats enjoy chewing grass, and providing grass satisfies this preference and prevents the cat from chewing on potentially toxic houseplants, which is itself sufficient justification for offering cat grass regardless of whether it provides digestive or nutritional benefits. Now let's talk about cat-safe houseplants and what distinguishes them from the many ornamental plants that are toxic to cats. Cat-safe plants are plant species that have been verified through veterinary toxicology databases to be non-toxic to cats when ingested. This does not mean the plants are nutritious or beneficial, only that they do not contain compounds that cause toxicity symptoms when cats chew or consume them. The distinction is important because many plant species that are perfectly safe for humans are toxic to cats due to differences in metabolism and detoxification capacity. Common cat-safe houseplants include spider plants, Boston ferns, African violets, prayer plants, most true palms including areca and parlor palms, Christmas cacti, and various succulents including most haworthia and echeveria species. These plants are ornamental species that serve decorative purposes while being safe for households with cats who may chew on vegetation. The toxic houseplants that cat owners must avoid are numerous and include many popular ornamental species. Lilies, including Easter lilies, tiger lilies, and Asiatic lilies, are severely toxic to cats and cause acute kidney failure from even minor exposure, including licking pollen from fur. Sago palms cause liver failure. Dieffenbachia and philodendron species cause oral irritation and swelling from calcium oxalate crystals. Pothos, a common trailing houseplant, causes similar irritation. Azaleas and rhododendrons affect cardiac function. The list is extensive, and any household with cats should verify plant safety before introducing new plants. The advantage of cat-safe houseplants over catgrass is that they serve dual purposes as home decoration and as cat enrichment, and they do not require the regular replanting and maintenance that catgrass requires. A spider plant or Boston fern can live for years with routine care, providing ongoing safe vegetation for the cat to investigate or chew while adding visual interest to the home. The disadvantage is that even cat-safe plants can cause digestive upset if consumed in large quantities, and some cats who are determined plant chewers will damage houseplants through excessive chewing, regardless of whether the plants are toxic. A cat who repeatedly strips leaves from a Boston fern may be expressing a level of plant-seeking behavior that is better addressed through dedicated catgrass that can be consumed without limit, rather than through houseplants that are meant to remain intact. Let's address the safety considerations for both catgrass and houseplants, because even safe options have potential problems if implemented incorrectly. Catgrass safety issues: pesticide exposure if grass seed is treated with chemicals. Use organic untreated seed specifically sold for catgrass or pet consumption. Soil contamination if potting soil contains fertilizers or additives that are unsafe for cats. Use plain potting soil without added fertilizers, or use catgrass growing kits with safe growing medium. Mold growth if grass is overwatered or kept in humid conditions, with poor air circulation. Moldy grass should be discarded, not offered to cats. Choking risk if cats bite off large pieces of grass. This is rare but possible, particularly with longer grass blades. Houseplant safety issues: mice identification of plant species, leading to accidental provision of toxic plants. Always verify plant identity through reliable sources, including ASPCA Poison Control Plant Database, before introducing plants to cat households. Pesticide residue on commercially purchased plants. Rinse foliage thoroughly and keep plants inaccessible to cats for several weeks after purchase to allow pesticide residues to degrade. Fertilizer access if liquid fertilizer collects in saucers under pots. Keep fertilizer away from cats and avoid over-fertilizing that creates runoff. Soil consumption if cats dig in plant pots. Some cats are attracted to digging in potting soil, and ingestion of large amounts of soil can cause intestinal blockage. Cover soil surface with rocks or barriers if the cat shows digging behavior. The specific behavioral pattern of the individual cat determines whether catgrass, houseplants, or both are appropriate. Some cats have minimal interest in vegetation and ignore both catgrass and houseplants entirely. These cats do not need vegetation provided, and the owner can skip this enrichment category without consequence. Other cats are moderate vegetation seekers who occasionally nibble on plants but do not consume large quantities. These cats benefit from having cat grass available as a safe option that prevents them from seeking out potentially toxic houseplants. And they can coexist safely with cat-safe houseplants if those are provided. Some cats are compulsive plant chewers who seek out and consume vegetation whenever it is available, often to the point of damaging houseplants or consuming amounts that cause vomiting or digestive upset. These cats need dedicated cat grass that can be consumed freely, and they are not good candidates for having houseplants in the home because they will damage the plants and may consume enough plant material to cause problems even from non-toxic species. The growing method for cat grass affects convenience and success. Pre-planted cat grass kits that include seed, growing medium, and container are convenient and foolproof but more expensive than growing from seed in a pot you already own. Growing from seed requires purchasing untreated grass seed, a shallow container, and potting soil, and following basic planting instructions, but it is significantly less expensive, particularly for owners who maintain cat grass continuously. The rotation strategy for cat grass extends the useful life of each planting. Rather than waiting for one planting to be consumed or to become overgrown before starting another, plant new grass every 1 to 2 weeks so that multiple plantings at different growth stages are always available. This ensures continuous access to fresh young grass and allows old plantings to be discarded before they become tough or unpalatable. The verdict. Cat grass is a safe, inexpensive enrichment option that allows cats to satisfy plant-chewing behavior without risk of toxic plant exposure. The claimed digestive and nutritional benefits are modest and not well established through research, but the behavioral enrichment value and the toxic plant avoidance justify providing cat grass for cats who show interest in vegetation. Cat-safe houseplants serve dual purposes as decoration and safe vegetation, and they are appropriate for households where the cat shows moderate plant interest and where the owner wants to include live plants in home decor. The key is to verify plant safety rigorously and to monitor the cat's interaction with plants to ensure consumption does not become excessive. If your cat currently chews on houseplants or shows interest in vegetation, provide cat grass as a dedicated safe option and verify that all houseplants in your home are non-toxic to cats. Remove or rehome toxic plants immediately, as the risk of severe poisoning from lilies and other highly toxic species is not worth the decorative benefit. If you have never provided cat grass and your cat has not shown interest in plants, you can introduce a small cat grass planting and observe whether the cat investigates or consumes it. Many cats will show interest, and even those who do not consume grass benefit from having it available as an option. The investment in cat grass is minimal, the maintenance is straightforward, and the safety benefit of providing appropriate vegetation that prevents the cat from seeking out potentially toxic alternatives makes cat grass one of the simplest and most valuable enrichment additions to an indoor cat environment. Comparison 9. Window perch versus cat TV for visual stimulation. Visual stimulation is one of the most overlooked components of indoor cat enrichment, and the failure to provide adequate visual interest is one of the primary reasons indoor cats become bored, lethargic, and behaviorally understimulated. Cats are visual hunters whose predatory systems are triggered by movement, and the opportunity to watch moving objects, whether those objects are birds, squirrels, insects, or even digital representations of prey, provides mental engagement that satisfies instinctive drives and prevents the boredom that contributes to behavioral problems and depression in understimulated cats. The two primary options for providing visual enrichment are window perches that give cats access to views of outdoor activity, including wildlife, weather, and environmental changes, and cat TV, which is video content specifically designed to stimulate cats through footage of birds, fish, small mammals, and other moving subjects. This comparison examines what each option provides, what the research shows about visual enrichment effectiveness, how to implement each option optimally, and how to make informed decisions about visual stimulation based on your cat's preferences and your household constraints. Let's start with window perches and why window access is so valuable for indoor cats. A window perch is any elevated platform or shelf positioned at a window that allows a cat to sit comfortably while observing outdoor activity. The perch can be a commercial cat window perch that attaches to the windowsill with suction cups or brackets, a simple cushion placed on an existing windowsill, a piece of furniture positioned beneath a window, or a custom-built shelf installed specifically to provide window access at optimal height. The value of window access for cats is substantial and well documented in enrichment research. Cats given access to windows show increased activity levels, more diverse behavioral repertoires including increased grooming and play, and reduced signs of stress and boredom compared to cats without window access. The mechanism is straightforward. Windows provide dynamic, unpredictable visual stimulation through outdoor activity that changes constantly with weather, light conditions, wildlife movement, and human activity. This variability maintains interest in ways that static indoor environments cannot. The specific outdoor features that attract cat attention vary by location, but typically include birds visiting feeders or foraging naturally, squirrels moving through trees or across lawns, insects flying near windows, falling leaves or snow, wind-blown vegetation, and passing vehicles or pedestrians. The movement is the critical element that triggers attention, and even environments that seem relatively static to humans provide sufficient movement through natural processes to interest cats who are observing from windows. The bird feeder placement strategy dramatically increases the enrichment value of window access. A bird feeder positioned 3 to 6 feet from a window that has a cat perch brings bird activity within close viewing range and creates a reliable source of movement and visual interest. Different feeder types attract different bird species, and rotating seed types or providing multiple feeders with different offerings increases the diversity of birds visiting and maintains novelty that sustains cat interest over time. The safety considerations for window perches include ensuring that the mounting is secure and that the perch can support the cat's weight safely without risk of collapse or detachment. Suction cup perches work well for lighter cats and for temporary installations, but may not be adequate for heavy cats or for permanent setups. Bracket-mounted or shelf-style perches provide more secure support. The window itself must be secure enough that the cat cannot push through screens or fall if they lean against glass that opens. The multiple window access strategy provides more complete enrichment than single window access because different windows show different outdoor environments and receive different amounts of natural light at different times of day. A cat with access to east-facing windows in the morning and west-facing windows in the afternoon can follow the sun and can observe different wildlife activity patterns that vary by time of day and light conditions. Now let's talk about cat TV and what it actually is, because the term encompasses several different types of video content with different characteristics. Cat TV, also called cat entertainment video, is video content designed to attract cat attention through footage of subjects that cats find visually interesting. The most common content types are bird videos, showing wild birds at feeders or in natural settings, fish videos showing aquarium fish or koi ponds, small mammal videos showing mice, squirrels or chipmunks, and insect videos showing moving insects. The videos are typically filmed with high frame rates and minimal camera movement to prevent motion blur that cats might find difficult to track. And they often include ambient, natural sounds that add auditory interest. The platform for Cat TV has evolved from dedicated DVDs marketed for cats to YouTube channels offering hours of free cat entertainment content to subscription streaming services that curate cat-specific video libraries. The accessibility and variety available through free YouTube content has made Cat TV widely available to any cat owner with a television, computer, or tablet. The research on cat response to video is mixed and reveals significant individual variation. Some cats show clear interest in cat TV content, approaching the screen, tracking movement with head and eye movements, and in some cases attempting to touch or catch the on-screen subjects. Other cats show no interest in video content and ignore screens entirely even when cat TV is playing. The variation appears to be related to individual visual acuity, hunting drive, and previous exposure to screens. The visual system differences between cats and humans affect how cats perceive video content. Cats have lower visual acuity than humans, meaning they see less fine detail, but they have superior motion detection and are particularly sensitive to movement in their peripheral vision. Standard video frame rates of 24 to 30 frames per second, which appear as smooth motion to humans, may appear as a series of still images to cats whose visual processing is faster. Higher frame rate video of 50 to 60 frames per second provides smoother apparent motion that may be more engaging for cats. And some cat TV producers have begun using higher frame rates specifically to improve cat engagement. The screen size and positioning affect engagement significantly. Large screens positioned at cat eye level when the cat is sitting provide the most immersive experience and allow the cat to track on-screen movement comfortably. Small screens like phones positioned at awkward angles are less likely to capture attention. Television screens or computer monitors at appropriate height are ideal platforms for cat TV. The duration of cat TV viewing varies enormously between individual cats. Some cats will watch attentively for extended periods, sometimes 20 to 30 minutes or longer during particularly engaging content. Others watch for a few minutes and lose interest. The attention span appears to correlate with hunting drive, with highly prey-motivated cats showing longer sustained attention to cat TV than cats with lower hunting motivation. Let's examine the comparative advantages and limitations of window perches versus cat TV. Window perch advantages. Real outdoor activity provides unpredictability and novelty that video content cannot fully replicate. Natural light exposure has health benefits, including vitamin D synthesis and circadian rhythm regulation. Multi-sensory experience, including sounds, temperature changes, and in some cases, scents from open windows. No technology required, no electricity consumption, no dependence on screens. Engaging for virtually all cats regardless of individual variation in screen interest. Window perch limitations. Requires appropriate window location with outdoor view that includes movement and activity. Dependent on weather and seasonal variations in wildlife activity. May be unavailable in apartments or homes without suitable windows. Some outdoor views are barren and provide minimal visual interest. Cat TV advantages. Available regardless of window access or outdoor environment. Quality content can be selected specifically for the cat's demonstrated preferences. Consistent availability, not dependent on weather or time of day. Can be used in windowless rooms or in evening hours when outdoor visibility is poor. Variety of content types allows testing different subjects to identify cat preferences. Cat TV limitations. Requires screen device, electricity, and internet access for streaming content. Significant individual variation in cat interest, with some cats ignoring screens entirely. Does not provide natural light exposure or multi-sensory enrichment. May require experimentation to find content that engages the specific cat. Prolonged screen time raises questions about potential negative effects that are not yet well researched. The combination approach that uses both window access and cat TV at different times or in different locations provides more complete visual enrichment than either option alone. Window access during daytime hours when outdoor activity is highest, supplemented with cat TV during evening hours when outdoor visibility is limited, maximizes visual stimulation throughout the day. The seasonal variation in window enrichment value is real, particularly in regions with cold winters, where outdoor wildlife activity decreases significantly during harsh weather. Cat TV can supplement window access during winter months when birds are less active and when windows may be less accessible due to cold. The individual preference assessment is essential for cat TV because the investment in screens and the time spent curating content is not worthwhile if the cat shows no interest. The assessment process is simple. Play cat TV content and observe the cat's response. Clear indicators of interest include approaching the screen, following movement with eyes or head, attempting to touch the screen, vocalizing at on-screen subjects, or watching for extended periods. Lack of interest is equally clear. The cat ignores the screen, walks away, or shows no tracking response to movement. The verdict. Window perches with outdoor views provide genuine visual enrichment for virtually all cats and should be considered essential rather than optional in indoor cat households. The natural light, unpredictable activity, and multi-sensory experience that windows provide cannot be fully replicated through artificial means, and the investment in appropriate window perch access is minimal relative to the enrichment benefit. Cat TV is a valuable supplemental enrichment option that can extend visual stimulation into evening hours or into households where window views are limited, but it is not a replacement for window access and is not engaging for all cats. The individual variation in screen interest means cat TV should be tested before investing significant effort in content curation or screen positioning. If your cat currently has no window access or has windows without perches that make viewing uncomfortable, install window perches as a priority enrichment intervention. Position bird feeders to attract wildlife activity and provide access to multiple windows if possible. This single change will produce observable improvements in activity level and engagement for most cats. If you have adequate window access and are considering adding cat TV for supplemental enrichment, test your cat's interest with free YouTube cat TV content before investing in subscription services or dedicated equipment. If the cat shows clear sustained interest, incorporate cat TV into evening routines when outdoor activity is minimal. Visual stimulation is not a luxury enrichment for cats with everything else. It is a fundamental component of environmental quality that affects behavioral health and mental well-being. Provide it through windows, through screens, or ideally through both, and watch your cat's engagement with their environment increase in ways that demonstrate how much they were missing before access to visual interest was provided. Comparison 10. Pain medication ongoing versus as needed for senior cats. Pain management in senior cats is one of the most significant recent advances in feline medicine, and it represents a fundamental shift in veterinary philosophy from the outdated assumption that cats tolerate pain better than other species and therefore need minimal intervention, to the evidence-based understanding that cats experience pain as acutely as any mammal, and that unmanaged chronic pain has severe welfare and health consequences. The recognition that arthritis affects the overwhelming majority of senior cats and that arthritis pain is manageable through medication has created treatment options that were not widely available or recommended even a decade ago. But the availability of pain medication creates a decision point that many cat owners are unprepared for, whether to manage chronic pain through ongoing daily medication or through as-needed medication, given only when the cat shows obvious discomfort. This comparison examines what chronic pain actually means for senior cats, how pain medication works and what the different approaches accomplish, what the risks and benefits of ongoing versus as-needed medication are, and how to make informed decisions about pain management based on your cat's condition, quality of life, and individual response to treatment. Let's start with what chronic pain is and how it affects senior cats, because understanding the nature of the problem clarifies why it requires intervention rather than acceptance. Chronic pain is pain that persists for weeks to months, and that is caused by ongoing tissue damage or inflammation rather than by acute injury. In senior cats, the primary source of chronic pain is osteoarthritis, the degenerative joint disease that causes progressive cartilage breakdown, bone remodeling, and inflammation in affected joints. The pain from arthritis is not constant throughout the day but fluctuates based on activity level, temperature, and time since the last movement. Pain is typically worse after rest when joints have stiffened, worse in cold weather when inflammation increases, and worse after activity that stresses affected joints. The welfare impact of unmanaged chronic pain is profound and affects multiple dimensions of the cat's life. Cats in pain reduce their activity to avoid movements that trigger pain, leading to muscle atrophy that further reduces mobility. They reduce grooming because the body contortions required to reach certain areas are painful, leading to coat deterioration and skin problems. They avoid using litter boxes with high sides because stepping over the sides is painful, leading to litter box avoidance and house soiling. They become irritable and may show aggression when touched in painful areas, damaging their relationship with owners who do not understand that the behavioral change is pain-driven. The behavioral changes from chronic pain are often attributed to normal aging rather than recognized as treatable pain symptoms. An owner who observes their senior cat sleeping more, jumping less, and becoming less social may assume these changes are inevitable age-related decline, when in fact they are pain-related changes that would improve dramatically with appropriate pain management. This attribution error causes cats to live with untreated pain for months or years, because the owner, and sometimes even the veterinarian, do not recognize the behavioral changes as pain indicators. The pain assessment challenge in cats is that they do not vocalize or limp, obviously the way dogs do when experiencing musculoskeletal pain. Cat pain assessment relies on recognizing subtle behavioral changes, including reduced activity, reluctance to jump, altered grooming patterns, litter box avoidance, changes in social interaction, and altered sleeping locations that avoid surfaces requiring jumps to access. Owners who are not specifically looking for these signs often miss them, and cats suffer unrecognized pain as a result. Now let's talk about pain medication options for cats and how they work, because understanding the mechanisms and limitations of different medication classes clarifies the ongoing versus as-needed question. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, NSAIDs, are the primary medication class for arthritis pain in cats. NSAIDs work by reducing inflammation at the site of tissue damage, which reduces both pain and the ongoing joint damage that inflammation causes. The most commonly prescribed feline NSAIDs are meloxicam and robenacoxib, both of which are formulated and approved specifically for cats at doses much lower than canine or human NSAIDs. The mechanism of NSAIDs requires understanding. They do not simply mask pain the way analgesics do. They reduce the inflammatory process that is causing pain, which means they address the underlying pathology rather than just suppressing symptoms. This distinction is important because it means NSAIDs provide disease-modifying benefit when used consistently, slowing arthritis progression in addition to relieving pain. The kidney and gastrointestinal risks of NSAIDs are real and are the primary concern that makes some veterinarians and owners hesitant about long-term use. NSAIDs are metabolized through the kidneys, and cats with compromised kidney function are at increased risk for NSAID-related kidney damage. NSAIDs can also cause gastrointestinal ulceration and bleeding, particularly at higher doses or in cats with pre-existing GI sensitivity. The risk management for NSAID use requires baseline blood work before starting medication to confirm that kidney and liver function are adequate, and regular monitoring blood work every 6 to 12 months during long-term use to detect early signs of kidney or liver changes that would indicate the need to discontinue or reduce the medication. With appropriate screening and monitoring, long-term NSAID use is safe for most cats. But the monitoring requirement is a commitment that owners must be prepared to maintain. Gabapentin is an anticonvulsant medication that has pain-relieving properties for neuropathic pain and that is increasingly used in cats for arthritis pain, particularly in cats who cannot tolerate NSAIDs due to kidney disease or GI sensitivity. Gabapentin works through mechanisms in the nervous system that reduce pain signal transmission, rather than through anti-inflammatory effects, which means it provides symptom relief without addressing underlying inflammation. The sedation side effect of gabapentin is dose-dependent and affects some cats more than others. At therapeutic doses for pain management, some cats show mild sedation or reduced coordination, particularly during the first few days of treatment before tolerance develops. Other cats show no obvious sedation. The side effect typically diminishes with continued use, but for cats who remain sedated at therapeutic doses, gabapentin may not be an acceptable long-term option. Buprenorphine is an opioid pain medication used for moderate to severe pain in cats. It is more commonly used for acute pain following surgery or injury than for chronic arthritis pain, but it has a role in managing severe chronic pain in cats who do not respond adequately to NSAIDs or gabapentin. Buprenorphine is available in injectable and oral transmucosal forms, with the transmucosal form allowing home administration by owners. Now let's examine the ongoing versus as-needed medication question and what each approach actually accomplishes. Ongoing daily medication means the pain medication is administered every day, regardless of the cat's apparent pain level, with the goal of maintaining consistent pain control and preventing pain from occurring rather than treating it after it has already developed. The medication becomes part of the daily routine like feeding, and the cat receives the same dose at the same time every day. The advantages of ongoing medication are substantial. Consistent medication maintains stable blood levels that provide continuous pain relief, preventing the pain fluctuations that occur when medication is given sporadically. For NSAIDs specifically, the anti-inflammatory benefit requires consistent dosing to maintain reduced inflammation levels, and sporadic dosing does not provide the disease-modifying benefit that daily dosing accomplishes. The behavioral and quality of life improvements from ongoing pain medication are often dramatic and provide the clearest evidence that chronic pain was significantly affecting the cat before treatment began. Cats on ongoing pain medication often show increased activity, return to jumping to previously avoided surfaces, resume normal grooming patterns, return to using litter boxes they had been avoiding, and show improved social interaction and mood. These changes typically emerge within days to weeks of starting medication and demonstrate that the pain was real, significant, and treatable. The kidney monitoring requirement for ongoing NSAID use is a genuine commitment that requires regular veterinary visits and blood work. For cats who are already seeing the veterinarian twice yearly for senior wellness care, incorporating pain medication monitoring into those visits adds minimal additional burden. For cats who are not on regular monitoring schedules, the pain medication necessitates establishing one. As needed medication means pain medication is administered only when the cat shows obvious signs of discomfort, with the assumption that pain is episodic and that continuous medication is unnecessary. The medication is given reactively when pain appears rather than proactively to prevent pain. The limitations of as-needed medication for chronic pain are significant and often underestimated by owners who are hesitant about daily medication. Chronic arthritis pain is not episodic. It is ongoing, and the times when it is obvious to the owner represent peaks of more severe pain rather than the only times pain is present. A cat who shows obvious pain symptoms is a cat whose pain has exceeded their ability to hide it, which means the pain has been present and worsening for some time before becoming visible. As-needed medication also does not provide the anti-inflammatory benefit that consistent NSAID dosing provides, because inflammation levels fluctuate with sporadic dosing and do not achieve the sustained reduction that slows arthritis progression. The cat receives temporary symptom relief when medication is given, but does not receive the disease-modifying benefit that ongoing treatment provides. The practical challenge of as-needed medication is determining when to administer it. The behavioral signs of pain in cats are subtle, and many owners do not recognize them reliably until pain is severe. This means as-needed medication is often given too infrequently and too late, allowing the cat to experience unnecessary pain that could have been prevented through ongoing medication. The cost consideration affects decision-making for some households. Ongoing medication costs more than as-needed medication because it requires daily doses and regular monitoring blood work. For households with tight budgets, the cost difference may make as-needed medication the only affordable option. The pragmatic response is to acknowledge this constraint honestly and to implement as-needed medication as well as possible rather than providing no pain management because ongoing medication is unaffordable. However, for households where cost is not a barrier, choosing as-needed medication to avoid the perceived risk or complexity of ongoing medication is a choice that prioritizes owner convenience over cat welfare. The cat with chronic arthritis pain benefits more from consistent pain control than from sporadic treatment, and the owner's hesitation about daily medication is not a sufficient justification for allowing ongoing pain. The verdict: ongoing daily pain medication is the appropriate approach for senior cats with chronic arthritis pain who are medically suitable for long-term medication use. The consistent pain control, anti-inflammatory benefit, quality of life improvement, and disease-modifying effects of daily NSAIDs justify the commitment to daily administration and regular monitoring. As-needed pain medication is inadequate for managing chronic pain and should be reserved for acute pain episodes or for situations where ongoing medication is genuinely contraindicated due to kidney disease, medication intolerance, or other medical factors. For cats who cannot tolerate NSAIDs due to kidney disease, gabapentin provides an alternative ongoing pain management option that can be used long-term with appropriate monitoring. The combination of gabapentin with environmental modifications, including ramps, steps, and soft bedding, provides pain management that significantly improves quality of life even when NSAIDs are not possible. If your senior cat is showing any signs of mobility limitation, reluctance to jump, reduced grooming, or behavioral changes that could indicate pain, schedule a veterinary examination that includes assessment for arthritis pain and discussion of pain management options. Do not assume that slowing down is normal aging that requires no intervention. Ask specifically about pain medication. Express your willingness to commit to ongoing treatment and monitoring if recommended, and advocate for your cat's pain management if your veterinarian seems hesitant to prescribe. The recognition that cats experience pain and deserve pain management is recent enough that some veterinarians still undertreat feline pain out of outdated concerns about medication risks. If your veterinarian dismisses pain management concerns or suggests that your cat is fine despite obvious mobility changes, seek a second opinion from a veterinarian who practices current pain management standards. Your senior cat may have years of life remaining, and the difference between living those years in pain and living them comfortably is determined by whether appropriate pain management is provided. This is not a minor quality of life consideration. It is the difference between a cat who avoids movement because it hurts and a cat who remains active and engaged because their pain is controlled. Choose comfort. Choose ongoing medication if your cat is a candidate for it. The commitment is worthwhile, and your cat deserves to live their senior years without preventable suffering. Closing. 10 more decisions. 10 more times where you entered this comparison thinking you understood the basics and you are leaving with the depth and nuance that actually allows you to make informed choices rather than guesses. 10 specialized decisions that apply to specific cats in specific situations. And if those situations have not arrived yet in your household, they will. Let's go through what you now understand. You know that long-haired cats need more than just regular brushing. That professional grooming is necessary, not optional, for cats whose coats develop mats despite home care. and that the welfare cost of inadequate grooming is genuine discomfort and skin health problems that progress silently until they become severe. You know that cat introductions require slow, structured progression through separation, scent exchange, visual contact, and supervised interaction before unsupervised coexistence. That rushing introductions creates relationship problems that persist for years, and that the time investment in proper introduction is insignificant relative to the years of peaceful or tense coexistence that result. You know that separate feeding stations in multi-cat households reduce stress, prevent weight management problems, and eliminate the subtle competition and intimidation that occurs at communal feeding locations even when overt fighting is absent. You know that structured exercise through scheduled daily play sessions provides weight management, behavioral problem reduction, and mental stimulation that casual, sporadic play cannot accomplish, and that the 15 to 20-minute daily commitment produces benefits that are immediately observable and that compound over months and years. You know that ramps and steps address mobility limitations in senior cats with arthritis, that the choice between them depends on severity of limitation and household space constraints, and that providing mobility assistance when jumping difficulty first appears prevents months or years of pain-limited access to preferred elevated territory. You know that pair kitten adoption provides developmental benefits, mutual companionship, and behavioral advantages that make two kittens easier to manage than a single kitten, despite the assumption that two would be twice the work. You know that grain-free litter is a marketing category that does not predict performance, that litter selection should be based on particle size, clumping quality, and dust level, rather than on grain content, and that premium prices for grain-free formulations are not justified unless specific performance advantages independent of grain content are present. You know that cat grass provides behavioral enrichment and toxic plant avoidance, that cat-safe houseplants serve dual purposes as decoration and enrichment, and that both options are appropriate for cats who show interest in vegetation. You know that window perches provide visual stimulation through real outdoor activity that is engaging for virtually all cats, that cat TV supplements window access for cats who show screen interest but does not replace the natural light and multi-sensory enrichment that windows provide, and that the combination of both maximizes visual stimulation throughout the day. And you know that ongoing daily pain medication for senior cats with chronic arthritis provides consistent pain control, disease-modifying benefit, and quality of life improvement that as-needed medication cannot accomplish, and that the commitment to daily medication and monitoring is justified by the welfare benefit for cats who deserve to live their senior years without preventable suffering. 4 videos, 48 comparisons, every major decision you will face as a cat owner, every specialized situation that requires informed choice, every nuanced question where the simple answer is wrong, and the complete answer requires understanding the details. Here is what these 4 videos represent. They represent the knowledge base that allows you to be an advocate for your cat, rather than a passive recipient of whatever advice you happen to encounter. They give you the ability to question veterinary recommendations that do not align with evidence, to recognize when marketing claims are not supported by research, to distinguish high-stakes decisions from lower-stakes optimizations, and to make choices based on your cat's actual needs rather than on assumptions or habits or what seems convenient. Your cat will age, they will develop health conditions, they will need mobility assistance and pain management. Your household will change. You may adopt additional cats or introduce kittens. You will face decisions about grooming, about feeding, about enrichment, about medical care. Every one of these decisions will benefit from the foundation you have built through these 48 comparisons. The investment you have made in watching these videos is an investment in your cat's entire future. The hours you have spent learning are hours that will prevent mistakes, that will catch problems early, that will allow you to implement solutions before welfare is compromised. This is not theoretical knowledge. This is practical information that you will use. that will shape daily decisions and that will accumulate into a lifetime of genuinely excellent care. If you have made it through all 4 parts of this series, you are in a category of cat ownership that represents perhaps the top half of 1% of cat owners globally. Most people who own cats do so based on tradition, habit, and assumptions that were never questioned. You are not most people. You have invested in understanding, you have questioned those assumptions, and you have committed to doing better for your cat than the default approach that most owners settle for. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring enough about your cat to invest this time and attention. Thank you for being willing to learn, to change your mind when better information becomes available, and to prioritize your cat's welfare over convenience or habit. Your cat cannot thank you directly, but the quality of their life, the comfort of their senior years, and the depth of your relationship with them are the thanks that matter. If these 4 videos have given you knowledge that will change your approach to cat care, please subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment telling us which comparison across the entire series has been most impactful for you, or which decision you are changing based on what you learned. Share these videos with every cat owner you know, because every cat deserves an owner who has this information. And check out our other masterclasses on cat communication, cat health, and every other dimension of feline care, where we go just as deep, where we question just as thoroughly, and where we give you the complete picture, rather than the simplified version that does not serve you or your cat well. Your cat is counting on you. After 48 comparisons, you are ready for whatever comes next. We will see you in the next one. Cat lovers.